across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good morning and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be your host for 4 fabulous hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 10 o'clock. Get involved, get stuck in and call me on 0344 499 1000 or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Wednesday, December the 24th, Christmas Eve. Here's what's coming up. Yet another humiliating U-turn as two-tier Kia goes into screeching reverse on his wildly unpopular farmer's inheritance tax and doubles the limit to £2 million. Too late for Yorkshire farmer Jonathan Charlesworth, whose dad Phil took his own life to spare his family the burden of Starmer's cruel attack on agricultural landowners, many of whom are the very opposite of wealthy. Only last week the Prime Minister conceded that his assault on farms was driving some desperate farmers to suicide. Now, in a pattern that's become all too familiar, our dear leader has changed course. How much longer can he go on like this? 0344 499 1000. In other news, if you fancy going round calling for Jews to be killed, head down to Avon and Somerset, where apparently it's legal. With just 4 days to go before the time limit runs out, Avon and Somerset police have announced that Bob Villendork, Pascal Robinson Foster, kind of mean streets kind of name, isn't it? Grew up on the mean streets of Ipswich. Man, yeah. Pascal Robinson Foster will not be charged for screaming death, death to the IDF at Glastonbury. Ludicrously, the cops described this as a highly complex case that after nearly 6 months of deliberation, they have concluded does not meet the threshold for a criminal prosecution. Why? 0344 499 1000. Also today, another new low for that loathsome oath, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. An email from the former prince emerges in yet more of the eternal Epstein files, asking pimp Ghislaine Maxwell to find him some new inappropriate friends. The FBI demanded to interview the disgraced royal over his close links to his paedophile pal Jeffrey Epstein. That grilling is yet to happen. But can Andrew refuse to cooperate for much longer? The king is desperate for him to get over to the States and start talking. 0344 499 1000. Plus, tomorrow, Christmas Day, taxpayers will foot the bill for £5.3 million worth of asylum seekers living at luxury hotels. In this respect, December the 25th is no different to any other day, but it serves as a festive reminder that the migrant crisis continues apace thanks to a gormless government that has no idea how to solve this ongoing national scandal. What a shambles. 0344 499 1000. £5.3 million every day to put up migrants, asylum seekers in hotels, many of them 4-star expensive hotels. Each migrant at a hotel costs us £143 a night. Good, isn't it? It's about 33,000 currently living at hotels. The government says it's going to stop using them quite so much. No sign of that. They keep recommissioning them. Unbelievable. What a mess. Meanwhile, does the BBC believe in God? Does the state broadcaster understand that Britain is a Christian country with an official religion, as in the Church of England? Find out why I'm asking later in the show. And finally, what's on TV this Christmas? More to the point, does anyone care anymore? 0344 499 1000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday morning together, or Christmas Eve together. Let's do it. Let's get it on. And for the first hour, it is my friend, writer and broadcaster Emma Wolf will be with me to go through some of the big stories. Morning, Emma.
Good morning, Kev.
Emma cycled in this morning from her home. You know, like, I just got this image of this woman on a bicycle at 3 in the morning, freezing cold. But congratulations for doing that. You've had your exercise for the day. Damned if I have. Let's get on to the first story, though. And
yet another U-turn.
Yeah, it's yet another U-turn. I mean, it's sort of good news. It's good news for a lot of farmers because what he's done is he's buckled under pressure to at least loosen up the demand that any farmer with a farm or small holding worth more than £1 million would have to pay a vast amount of inheritance tax when they pass it on to their families. And that's what farmers do. Farms obviously stay in families for generations and generations. Hitherto, that process had been tax-free. You know, here, son, you take over my farm, good luck. You know, that's the way it was. In came Labour. You know, Labour traditionally don't like people in the country. They don't like rural communities because rural communities don't traditionally vote for them. So they came in and said, right, 20%. You know, which was devastating to farmers. And, you know, I've interviewed this guy, Jonathan Charlesworth, several times. His dad, Phil, killed himself, took his own life in order to avoid his son or him having to pay 20% tax. Last week, Emma, Starmer met up with some people from farming communities, and he conceded that Jonathan Charlesworth's poor dad, Phil, is not the only one to take his own life, that suicide was becoming more and more of a thing among farmers trying to avoid this tax. So what he's done now, it's a climb down, but it's not a total climb down. He's doubled the limit. So from now on, if your farm is worth £1 million, you're okay. If your farm is worth 1,750,000, you're okay. But if it's 2 million, you're not okay. So there still is a tax. So it's unlikely to thrill the farming communities, although they're obviously pleased at this sort of partial victory. It, of course, is a sap to his backbench MPs because that Labour have such a huge majority at the moment. Unusually, they do have quite a large amount of rural MPs. Now, the rural MPs have been, you know, my constituents aren't going to vote for me in the next election unless you do something about this. Exactly. So once again, it's Starmer doing what his backbenchers told. He's not running the country. His left-wing backbenchers are. So sort of partially good news, but I think the bad news here, Emma, is it once again proves that we have a Prime Minister with the backbone of a jellyfish. He has no resolve whatsoever. Every time he comes up with an unpopular policy like the winter fuel allowance, oh my God, people don't like that. I know what I'll do. I'll cancel that policy. No resolve whatsoever.
Absolutely. And let's be clear, this is an entirely political move. This is not a moral U-turn. This is not deciding, actually, you know what, we got that wrong. Let's do the right thing. This is not. This is pressure of rebellion from MPs. Up to 40 MPs were threatening to rebel on this. Starmer and Reeves have been forced into a corner. You know what? Reeves could have owned this. Reeves could have announced this at her budget a few weeks ago. She could have said, you know, we're going to do the right thing. This would only have raised maximum around £530 million. It wasn't necessary.
It's just
they've actually raised the threshold. Just to correct you, it's £2.5 million.
Is it 2.5?
So it's gone from 1 to 2.5 million. Let's remember how hard farmers work, what a difficult job it is. They are out there. You laugh at me being on a bike at 3 in the morning. Farmers are out there clearing out slurry, feeding the animals, doing whatever they are all probably doing now.
They're doing unspeakable things.
Really hard work to grow food for this blooming country. So we should all be grateful to farmers. They shouldn't be paying any tax as far as I'm concerned. Farms are very asset rich. We know that things like tractors and combine harvesters and whatever, all the kit costs a lot of money. So you can value a farm at, you know, $1 million and start taxing it. They're not making a lot of money. How much does a 4 pint of milk cost? You know, I mean, we know the low prices they're getting for the food that they produce, for the livestock that they produce. It is a tough job. And actually, Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, as one Labour MP put it, they have shown they are just not very good at politics. They've been forced into this humiliating end of year sort of, you know, they don't even announce it. It just comes out, doesn't it? Quietly,
more than that.
hoping everyone's going to be off with the mince pies.
Yeah, this is a classic slide it under the doormat.
Christmas Eve or
as people go into recess. I mean,
good day to bury bad news kind of day.
Yeah, that is the joke, that they actually think we're not going to notice this. And so, by the way, Mark in Norwich, like you, Emma is putting me right. It's 2.5 million, not 2 million. That is significant. The thing is, though, that although that is good news for everybody with a farm worth less than 2.5 million, but even 2.5 million pounds, farmers will tell you, it doesn't mean that they're some sort of robber baron from the Middle Ages with vast amounts of land. Even 2.5 million, a lot of farmers will say that doesn't make me wealthy.
Exactly.
The Labour government had this idea that anyone with a farm worth over £1 million was, you know, a fabulously wealthy, classic
wealthy
sort of
landowner,
semi-rural aristocrat type. And they were saying, look, if you take away if you include the equipment and the size of the land, £1 million is literally a small holding. 2.5 million, bigger, but there'll be a lot of people will still find this very, very tough. Don't forget, 20% of £2.5 million is a lot of money.
And it's hard enough to keep these things in the family, to keep a farm going. You know, the young ones want to leave, they want to go and find, you know, they want to move abroad, they want to get away from the UK. To try and keep a family farm going, to be able to pass it down to your sons and daughters, to the grandchildren, all of that matters.
Yeah.
This is the incoherence, Kev, of this government. They bang on about net zero, but when you actually have people who are looking after the land, who are producing food that we then don't need to fly in on these expensive jets, they want to punish those farmers. Why aren't we encouraging rural landowners, farm holders? Why aren't we encouraging food being grown at home, encouraging people to buy British? We should be putting everything towards farming and forgetting about net zero and all that heat pump nonsense.
Yeah, and meanwhile, that's the other assault on our agricultural communities is Ed Miliband, Crazy Ed, the Nut Zero secretary, keeps sort of papering over vast amounts of land with solar panels. I mean, I don't know if you're taking a train journey or you've driven around the country lately, but the huge amounts of land seem to be covered with these hideous panels. And then you look up, you've got these War of the Worlds windmills everywhere, and they don't work.
They don't work, and we still have no way of storing all the power that they think they're going to get from this very, very sunny country. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
A quick word on what this is going to amount to for Keir Starmer. Before we talk about that, it's becoming a bit of a tradition now. Every time a crowd gathers, there are derisive chants about Keir Starmer. The other night, Sunday at the Royal Variety performance, when a comedian did a really bad impression of Keir Starmer. At first I thought they were booing the impression, because I could do a better impression than that. Absolutely lousy. But they weren't. They were booing the concept of Keir Starmer. And you got the darts tournament going on right now, the big TV darts championship. And this is at Ali Pali, Alexander Palace. We'll have a listen to the crowd. It rhymes with banker. Starmer is. It rhymes with banker. That's what they're chanting. Massive chants everywhere you go. The contempt for this hopeless, pathetic, U-turn, spineless Prime Minister and his gormless government, who are making a shambles of this country. Everywhere you go, the contempt is off the scale, isn't it?
Absolutely. Lowest popularity ratings in living history. I mean, how the man is limping on, it's just, well, it's an embarrassment. And just making people's lives really hard, really miserable. Absolutely no one seems to respect him, not even his own MPs.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about that, because this latest U-turn U-turn will have increased the already massive misgivings among Labour politicians that this man is not the guy to lead them into the next election. And I mean, he's going to go in 2026. By this time next year, rather, there's no way this guy is going to be Prime Minister. The question is not if he will go, it's when he will go. Now, people say it will be... That was the funny thing, Emma. They're going, you know, the Labour are going to get absolutely thrashed in the May local elections. That's when Starmer will go. So Starmer goes, what should I do about that? I know, I'll cancel the May elections. Which, of course, he will say, I'm not cancelling them. I'm inviting councils to consider whether they want elections because the boundaries will soon change and the organisation will have to be sort of rebooted, and also some councillors under that system would only be in power or in office for about a matter of weeks. That's what Labour is saying, but of course everybody else, the Tories, the Reform, the Lib Dems, just say they're running scared because he knows he's going to get thrashed. Absolutely.
It's desperate. What is this? Yeah. You can't just cancel elections.
Well,
we're living in kind of, you know, Soviet Russia. This is absolutely ludicrous. No, I mean, let's see. If not a day goes by, Kev, that we don't have, Wes Streeting is going to run, the King of the North is going to run, Angela Rayner's circling the wagons, so-and-so's offering, you know, potential. I love it when they offer colleagues potential jobs in their cabinets.
Of course they do.
You know, that they potentially... but then they say, well, I'm not ruling it out, but I'm not... Give me a break. I mean, I just think the whole team are so weak.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get excited about the idea of the King of the North coming down and running Downing Street.
Oh, God,
either.
no, he's just another...
Angela Rayner makes me want to kind of really flee the country. Wes Streeting has been very, very weak and very, very unimpressive on many, many issues.
He's not a very good health secretary, but he's probably...
Look at the NHS and look at his stance on puberty blockers.
Well,
absolutely
look
useless.
at the doctor's strike.
Yeah, look at the doctor's strike.
What's he doing in the middle of the doctor's strike?
What did he do? Within weeks of coming in, gave them, what is it, 29%?
Yeah, and
now they're striking again. As we said. And threatening rolling strikes throughout next year.
As we warned him. And what's he doing in the middle of the doctor's strike? He gives a great big interview to The Observer saying, who would want to be Prime Minister? I'll tell you who would want to be Prime Minister, Wes. It's bloody you.
Of course
you want to be the Prime Minister. Stop trying to con us that you don't want that job. You want it with all your heart. He may well get it. We may even get Ed Miliband, the most popular cabinet secretary among Labour members, or we might even get Angela Rayner, the second most popular. That my problem with this Labour government has always been, you know, I instinctively don't like Labour. I don't like socialism. I don't like Labour governments. I remember Tony Blair. I despised Tony Blair and everything he stood for and everything they stood for.
From the beginning.
However,
did you despise him from the beginning?
Yeah.
However,
the point about Tony Blair was, politically I didn't like him, but you could not criticise his competence.
No.
What worries me about this government, I don't expect to like them politically, I never would, but that's democracy. Yeah. What worries me about this government is not their politics primarily, it is their competence. They don't have any. It's appalling.
No, it is appalling. Really, really appalling. I mean, look at the constant U-turns. Look at the state of the economy. Look at the cost of living. Those are the really, really key things. The country's in a terrible, terrible state. And I think so many of us genuinely are not sure and fear the state the country is going to be in if we limp with Labour, if we limp forward to 2029. Forget who gets in, forget whether the Conservatives are having a resurgence, whether Nigel Farage could actually run the country, will Reform sustain this momentum until 2029. But what worries me is what state the country will be in by then. Because after 18 months of Labour, we are on our knees. People are, you know, really desperate. We're bankrupt.
It's very frightening. I agree with you. It's terrifying. If any of you are awake, I asked yesterday, anybody awake out there? We've got loads of people say, yeah, I'm awake. Give us a call. I mean, or maybe you feel that 2026 is going to be a golden year for Labour, but I doubt it. But What do you think about, what are your fears for this coming year? What are your fears, as Emma says, for the next 3.5 years? What are these people, look at the mess they've made in a year and a half. We've got 3.5 more years of this. It doesn't bear thinking about. Let me know what you think. 03444 991 1000. If you're a farmer from one of the rural communities, or a member of the agricultural community, give me a call about this U-turn. I mean, good news. Is it good enough? Why doesn't it just leave farmers alone altogether? As Emma quite rightly said, even when it was £1 million limit, all they were ever going to make out of this was about £500 million. Now that, in national terms, is peanuts. I think this policy was just cruel. It was just an attack on people that Labour think don't vote for them, just like the winter fuel allowance. Oh, people don't vote for us, let's hit them hard. Nasty people, aren't they, these Labour lot? 03444 991 1000. When we come back, we're going to talk about anti-Semitism or Jew hate, and we're going to ask why it is that the Avon and Somerset police have decided that Bob Villan, or Pascal Robinson Foster, as the lead singer of that marvellous rap band is called, why he's not going. They have decided not to prosecute him for shouting death, death to the IDF at Glastonbury. We're going to try and find out why. We're going to ask the question why. That next. Stay tuned.
Breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in, as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Like the most.
Welcome back. We're just having a chat about Prince Andrew, actually, or I say Prince Andrew, the Andrew formerly known as Prince. Yes, we'll talk about his disgusting email to Ghislaine Maxwell a little later. Can you buy me some inappropriate friends? What a sleazeball. Is there any way we can force this guy that he's going to move into some little cottage, which will probably be about the size of a skyscraper, on Sandringham Estate in Norfolk next year? Is there any way we can sort of weld the doors shut so he can't get out? I mean, what a sleazeball. He's becoming so disgusting, so sickening that I hardly want to talk about him. But I will, don't worry. We'll talk about that later. Let's talk about Bob Villan. Do you remember it was June the 28th it was, at Glastonbury, death to the IDF, a guy called Pascal Robinson Foster. He's the lead singer of the rap band, the Ipswich fan, Bob Villan, and he shouted death, death to the IDF. Which was, of course, a call to kill Jews, members of the Israeli Defence Force. Now, there's been some pressure on the Avon and Somerset police to charge him. Now, you've got a 6-month statute of limitations. So on the 28th, in 4 days' time, the time runs out on whether or not you could charge him. So if he got to the 28th and nothing happened, he's scot-free. Today, under pressure from us here at Talk and other journalistic outlets saying, come on, what are you going to do about this? The Avon and Somerset police, in their vast wisdom, having said that this is a very complex case.
Complex.
Very complex case. It is not. It is open and shut. They have decided that the threshold for a criminal prosecution has not been reached. Now, me, personally, I don't like hate crime laws at all. I don't like them. I don't like laws against that which you might say. I don't think we should be a country where people are prosecuted for things they say. So in my ideal world, he kind of would be able to see this because I'm a free speech absolutist. But we have these laws, and I hate anti-Semitism. And if we have laws to enforce opposition to anti-Semitism, I'm cool with that. So this guy shouting for the death of Jews strikes me must break our hate crime laws. There he is on national television, millions watching, chanting to hundreds of thousands of people at Glastonbury, a definite call to incitement to racially inspired violence, death to the IDF, death to Jews. Now, if that doesn't break our hate crime laws, Emma, I don't know what does. Why have they decided there is no crime here?
Well, as you say, Kev, you know, like you, I'm a free speech absolutist, but I would like the policing, I would like our crimes and our, you know, prosecution of those crimes to be fair, to be equal, not two-tier policing.
Exactly.
And why is this such a complex case? It wasn't very complex for the US, who immediately banned him from visiting the US.
Yeah.
They were very, very clear about this. This is vile Jew hatred. Why is that okay at Glastonbury? Why is it okay on our national broadcaster? I mean, the BBC have questions to answer here as well.
Yeah, they of course broadcast him shouting death to the IDF, and left him on air for the next 40 minutes. They subsequently said that was a big mistake.
When you're running a live event, you know how to pull the plug. Yeah. You know, if someone starts using the F word, there is a delay and you can make sure that they are pulled off air. Yeah. The BBC know how to do this. They're very, very experienced. Yeah. And they didn't. They left it rolling. Yeah.
You know, so you have to ask, why did they leave it rolling? Is it because they too sympathise with these anti-Israel feelings? Bob Villan or Pascal Robinson Foster would argue, does argue, it's not Jews he dislikes, it's Israel. He's against Israel's policies in the Middle East and what's happening in Gaza. That is often the refrain of people, shall we say, who have ambivalent feelings towards Jews. You know, it makes me crazy that Jeremy Corbyn, it's not Jews I dislike, it's Israel. Yeah, right. Anyway, that's what Pascal Robinson would say. So the Avon police, it's not a complex case, and I say that Avon police have decided this, Avon and Somerset police have decided this because they're jumping in with the general bandwagon in this country that it's okay to hate Jews. It's okay to be anti-Semitic. That's what I think. I think too many of our police forces are quite clearly pro-Palestine.
And is it any wonder, I mean, you saw the research that came out last weekend about how many Jews now feel that they have no, and these are Jews that live amongst us, that we love. These are British Jews who've always lived in this country.
British citizens.
Yeah? British citizens, exactly. Over 50%, as you say, feel they have no future in this country. I think it was over 60% actively looking to potentially move abroad. I mean, that is shameful. That is a shameful, shameful situation that Jews do not feel safe in this country.
I know, and they certainly don't. I mean, I live in a certain area of London, North London, where they proliferate. There are only about 280,000 Jews in this entire country of 70 million, and they should be a protected and respected part of our community. Instead, they're being alienated by this explosion of anti-Semitism. These pro-Palestine marches, they're not pro-Palestine, they're anti-Semitic, they're Jew hate marches. This is disgusting, folks, and what Avon and Somerset Police have done does not help. And I'll tell you what it leads to. If you tolerate anti-Semitism, if you tolerate Jew hatred, you'll end up with these two guys, situations like these two Islamic State-inspired terrorists who have been found guilty of plotting, quotes, the worst terrorist act in British history on Jewish communities. Walid Saadouai from Wigan, 38 years old, and Ammar Hussein, 52, from Bolton, wanted to replicate the 2015 Paris terror attacks in revenge for Israeli assaults on Gaza. They bought assault rifles, handguns, hundreds of rounds of ammunition in preparation for a marauding suicide gun attack in which they wanted to kill as many members of the Jewish community as they could, and they hoped to become martyrs. This is what happens when, if you tolerate what you might call minor infringements, you know, from the river to the sea, or jihad, calling for the death of Jews, you end up with people who actually plan to definitely kill Jews. That's what you end up with, right? Thin end of the wedge.
This could have been an absolutely terrifying attack. I mean, it's a few miles away, Prestwich, a few miles away from the Heaton Park synagogue, where the October attack was carried out. This Prestwich was the place they'd earmarked as a potential target. And they were, as you say, they were stockpiling weapons, assault rifles, handguns, hundreds of rounds of ammunition. I mean, look, we've just seen Bondi Beach, we've just seen these terrible, terrible attacks, and the police need to get a handle on this, the government need to get a handle on it, because something is going very, very wrong in this country.
The police have got to police this properly, you know. They've been turning a blind eye to these pro-Palestine marches, which are full of jihad chants from the river to the sea, which means when will Palestine be free, which means annihilate the Israeli state. The new favourite chant is globalise the intifada, which doesn't sound very snappy to me. I don't know how you chant that. Globalise the intifada. You know, these people who chant that should be arrested, and yet the police just stand and watch. Just before the Bondi Beach horror last weekend but one, there was a big pro-Palestine demonstration outside Sydney Opera House in which they were all chanting "Gas the Jews," and the cops stood there watching. When the cops tolerate anti-Semitism, tolerate Jew hatred, it leads to atrocities. When governments recognise Palestine, like Australia and Britain did on September the 21st, it leads to terrorism. 12 days after that idiot Starmer recognised Palestine, we had the Manchester synagogue atrocity. And now, what is it, a couple of months after Australia recognised Palestine, you get Bondi Beach. See what I mean? See what I mean? Thin end of the wedge, folks. Avon and Somerset Police, shame on you. Shame on you. Let's go to a break now. When we come back, we're going to talk about
Starmer. Starmer and Starmer.
More on Starmer.
And Andrew, can we do some Andrew?
Yeah, we'll do a bit. What are we going to do? I want to talk about. We'll talk about the migrant crisis. We'll do a bit of Andrew as well. We're going to do a lot of Andrew in the show, even though I said I wasn't going to talk about him because he's too disgusting. In fact, he's so disgusting. As a journalist, I just have to talk about it. I won't like it, but I'll have to do it. You know, I'm selfless like that. Stick around, folks. Back in a mo.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
You look so hurt. Oh, all right then. Hi, we're back. Sorry, we're chatting away again, talking about football. Fulham, we won on Monday night. Right, let's go back to the agenda, shall we? Now, if you thought your Christmas wasn't working out too well, it's about to get worse. Keir Starmer, oh my God, an unhappy Christmas for all of us. He's issued a festive message. We've watered it down a bit, we've edited it down a bit. It goes on for 2.5 minutes. I don't want to inflict that on you, but here's an edited, well, I was going to say edited highlights. I don't think there are any, but here's the edited version of Starmer's Christmas message.
That's what Christmas is about. So whether you're at home this evening, heading to work, heading to church, or maybe heading to the pub, let's look forward and celebrate the joy and hope that Christmas brings. From my family to yours, to everyone in the United Kingdom, I hope you all have a very happy Christmas.
Well, we're not going to have a happy Christmas thanks to you, Starmer. I mean, you look at that. I do genuinely... No, that's not true. I slightly feel sorry for him. He's such a sap. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to relate to the human race. You know, that's like a robot, isn't it?
He's really wooden. He's really awkward. He's not good with people, is he? Yeah. He's not good at, like, just talking to camera. He can't be natural. The problem with these cheesy Christmas political messages, I don't know if you've seen Ed Davies, but that's painful as well. This nonsense about the Christmas tree in Trafalgar Square, and he's trying to make a political point about Norway giving us the Christmas tree. Anyway, all of their political... all of the... Well, you should play all of them. Okay, Kemi's message is it's embarrassing, right? But politicians kind of have to put out these messages. But whatever they say, no one's going to disagree. But Keir Starmer, he goes on to say this thing about, you know, if you've got neighbours, check in on them, check that they're OK. And it's like, you know, everyone's struggling with this cost of living. Well, most of my neighbours, old people who can't heat and eat, you know, they can't probably heat up the oven for the turkey because they're trying to keep warm in one room.
Yeah, that's if they can afford the damn turkey.
You know, he's made our lives miserable and cold and expensive and a struggle. And then he stands there looking very warm in front of his Christmas tree going, from my family to yours.
Yeah, from my family to
and we don't
yours.
want to hear from him. We don't want to see his face. We don't want to hear about his family. I don't want Christmas wishes from him. But what can they do, Kev?
No, exactly right. Well, this is a talk amongst yourself, everyone. I'm just putting a message to my production team. Can we get Ed Davies' Christmas message? I think we have to play that because we could do with a bit of comedy. Yeah, Davey. This is the question for the day. All these shows on Talk, today's question, I never bother, but today's question is, what is the point of Ed Davey? 0344 499 1000. And if any of you can come up with an answer, you're a better person than I am. You really, really are. Let's talk about the migrant crisis, shall we? As I said earlier in my monologue, well, tomorrow, Christmas Day, it won't be any different in terms of the migrant crisis, but it will be another £5.3 million spent on housing asylum seekers in hotels. Every single day. Every single one of those, there are about 33,000 asylum seekers in hotels, about more than 100,000 altogether, but 33,000 in hotels, £143 each per night, and that goes on and on and on. And I reckon the way they're going, this time next year, that bill will have gone up. Not down, because do you know yesterday? Do you know the government, or was it Monday? They have said that they do not expect the numbers of illegal crossings of the channel in small boats to go down this year. Well, it's your job to make them go down.
So we're not cracking down on the crossings. We are completely. And what was Starmer's message? What was his pledge to the country? Smashing the small boats, smashing the smuggling. Remember, he said smuggling gangs.
Smuggling.
He couldn't say it.
Smash.
That was one of his big promises on coming into power. He was going to smash the small boats. Yeah. He hasn't done that. as you say,
Smash the gangs.
Smash the gangs.
He hasn't smashed a
Stop
single
the boat,
gang.
smash the gangs.
He spent £200 million for the Border Security Command.
Right.
He's given them £200 million, loads of high-tech equipment, surveillance equipment, drones. They haven't smashed a single gang. So they don't talk about that anymore. They talk about the one-in, one-out scheme. That was started in early August. Since then, what is that, 5 months or so, they have managed to get 150 migrants back to France.
And they've paid them to leave?
Yeah, France have given us about 80. Meanwhile, about 12,000 migrants have crossed the Channel illegally from France. Therefore, one in, one out is just an expensive non-deterrent. They're not doing anything to solve this crisis.
They're not. And in terms of hotels, as you say, many more are in rented accommodation, where actually British families
houses
also
of multiple occupation.
They're in all sorts of, but also not just houses of multiple occupancy, but nice council flats that British families should be given. So what they're doing, it's a bit like their NHS waiting list. What they do is they say, oh, people aren't waiting so long, or we're slashing the waiting list, and they move you around. So they pretend that you've had your initial consultation, but you're still waiting 18 months for your hip operation. Yeah. So they're going to move people around. They might move them out of the high-profile hotels. You might not see them at the Thistle or the Britannia or wherever, these kind of where they had all the protests. But they will still they're not being deported. People are still here, and they're still being housed at the taxpayers' expense.
Of course they are, and you talk about moving them around. It is like they're moving the chess pieces around the board to no apparent avail, no reason for this. So last week,
hide them.
Check this out. Last week, so they say, oh, we're going to use more military barracks, fewer hotels, more military barracks, more sort of ex-prisons, that kind of thing, because it's cheaper. Last week, the Napier barracks in Folkestone, which at times has had 450, 500 migrants living there, but they closed it down overnight. The hundreds of migrants staying there just disappeared. The residents, the relieved residents, woke up to find them gone. So people go, so we were saying to the Home Office here at Talk, we were phoning them up, I said, well, where have they gone? Where are they going? We don't discuss operational details. Oh, right, so you're not going to tell us. There is word that some of them might end up in the Crowborough army training camp in East Sussex, where the residents every weekend, thousands of them, protest about this.
Croborough's a lovely area.
Yeah, exactly right. And those protests are going to come to nothing. But at the moment, the Napier barracks migrants just disappeared. So what they're doing is they're desperately moving people around. But my point about that barracks story is if their policy is more barracks, fewer hotels, why are they emptying out a significant barracks in Folkestone? You see what I mean?
Yeah. Anything high profile.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Anything high profile, anything where there's been arrests or protests or whatever. Because there's Thistle in Clerkenwell's very near me, and I watch them what they're doing.
I know your one. You got the bad one, haven't you?
That is very nice one.
That is a hotel with the highest number of criminal offences.
Well, I tell you, I know the area the people in the area, and it has changed the nature of the area completely for all of us. It's changed the young women and women being able to schoolgirls in the summer being able to play out in the local areas in their parks. They were being filmed. You know, little girls in their swimsuits playing out in the paddling pools and stuff like that.
Yeah. So for you as a mum in that area, you have to worry about your kids.
It does not feel safe anymore, and that is and I'm not saying people don't have a legal claim, but there was no consultation with the British people when suddenly many thousands of people arrived on our shores in the past few years illegally.
Yeah. When did we vote for any of this? We didn't. Let's go to break. When we come back, let's have a chat about our friend, the Andrew, formerly known as Prince, shall we? That next. Stay tuned.
This journey of me following the migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning, all around the clock, to late at night, to the point where, you know, on buses, on trains, through streets, at every key point, French military police and the French police, they were there. They were on the bus, taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Still with Emma Wolf, writer and broadcaster. We're having a good time off air, I'll tell you that. But let's talk about what we were just talking about off air in rather fruity terms. Let's talk about the guy who we used to know as Prince Andrew, is now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Another 11,000 of these Epstein files released yesterday. When are they ever going to stop? I was just saying, I reckon in 10 years' time we'll probably be going, more Epstein files. They never ever seem to stop, but mostly they're just pictures of Bill Clinton in a hot tub, and everybody goes, oh, that's disgusting. Yeah, but it's not incriminating. Oh, look, there's Donald Trump with some beautiful young women, redacted. Okay, not a great look for the president, but doesn't really amount to a hill of beans. The guy who is coming out of this the worst, undoubtedly, is Prince Andrew, or the former Prince Andrew. And these new files, I mean, the last files revealed him draped across the laps of a bevy of beauties up at Sandringham, where he held a party, a birthday party for Jeffrey Epstein, his paedophile pal, and all the guests were given goodie bags full of, wait for it, sex poppers, drugs, sex toys, lubrications, disgusting little bags for sex parties. The Queen's favourite country retreat, that's what Andrew did to Her Majesty's favourite place to go in the weekend. Disgusting. Anyway, yesterday, this email emerged. This is from him calling himself the Invisible Man to a jailed pimp. She wasn't jailed then, Ghislaine Maxwell. She, of course, was the recruiter of young women for Jeffrey Epstein and his powerful friends, many of them underage. This is what Andrew wrote. He calls himself A, but it's Andrew. This is what he wrote to Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm up here at Balmoral Summer Camp for the royal family. Activities take place all day and I'm totally exhausted at the end of each day. Poor thing, but all that shooting and walking around, I'm totally exhausted at the end of each day. The girls, that's his daughters, I presume, B and Eugenie, are completely shattered, and I will have to give them an early night today, as it is getting tiring splitting them up all the time. How's LA, as in Los Angeles? Have you found me some new, this is the key sentence, how's LA? Have you found me some new inappropriate friends? Let me know when you are coming over, as I am free from the 25th of August until the 2nd of September and want to go somewhere hot and sunny with some fun people before having to put my nose firmly to the grindstone for the fall. Any ideas gratefully received. Have you found me some new inappropriate friends? That's just disgusting, isn't it? We know what he's talking about.
And there's from March 2000. I love your rendition of that, Kev. But there's also from March, and it's only 2002, so we're only talking, you know, this is in living memory. Andrew was, someone was going to Peru, and there was going to be a trip to Peru, and it was actually, was also allegedly out in Peru at the same time on a royal visit, which is a coincidence, isn't it? And he was asking for two-legged friends to do some fun, some sightseeing with some two-legged read intelligent, pretty, fun girls from good families. He will be very happy. All of this stuff. And he's out there. And we all think he's on a royal visit. And he's hanging out with very young women. And the woman actually, in a further bit, replies and says she's not sure whether she has any that are young enough. And the whole thing is now coming together. He's saved in someone's contacts, I think in Ghislaine's contacts, as the invisible man. You know, he talks about the Balmoral beach parties. So even though it doesn't say Andrew, it's very, very clear from all of the evidence coming together. I mean, there is no doubt. But email after email like this.
And what do you feel about, you know, the other things been revealed in these latest releases from the Epstein files? I mean, God knows how many more. Every time this is the final release of the Epstein files. Then 2 days later, there's 10, 20,000
the joy of email.
more. This is the eternal Epstein file saga. But in this latest release, it is revealed that the FBI was demanding to interview Andrew.
Why hasn't he been interviewed?
Well, because he's in a position to just say no.
Well, hang on. So someone like Lucy Connolly sends an inappropriate social media tweet. Graham Linehan is inappropriate social media tweet, and they're met at the airport by police. And someone like Andrew, there are, as you say, thousands of these files. And you know the beauty, Kevin? In the old days, if there was a whole tranche of inappropriate letters, you could just pop them in the fireplace and burn them. Now, these emails, WhatsApps, text messages are going to keep on rolling because they're saved somewhere and the FBI can get them, and it's just all coming out.
Yeah, I mean, and technically, because he's here in Britain, he can tell the FBI to do one. You know, they're in a different country, different administration. Therefore, technically, legally, he doesn't have to cooperate with the FBI. And of course, hitherto has not. Ostrich-like.
He's innocent. Remember?
Yeah. Of course, he denies anything inappropriate. We should.
That's why he paid someone
12
just
million
north
pounds.
of 10 million pounds.
12 million pounds.
Because he's innocent.
To prevent Virginia Giuffre going to civil court in New York. She says she accuses him very articulately in her new book, Nobody's Girl, of sexually abusing her on 3 different continents. The prince, or the former prince, denies that, to which we all say, well, why did you give her £12 million then? Andrew denies it. Nobody believes him. But he has hitherto refused to cooperate with the FBI. We know that the king is telling his brother, I think he should. But the pressure on him, particularly after this latest emails, or these latest emails, is now intense. And he's got this chance now, Emma, to do the decent thing and to cooperate. He doesn't actually have to go to America. There's been talk of him demanding immunity from arrest if he does go there, but he could do it by Zoom.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do the perp walk, you know, he doesn't have to have handcuffs. Well, look, this is the thing. Is the king going to make... The king is having... Well, the king's got his king, you know, the king's message, not the queen's message, tomorrow. So everybody loves the king at the moment. It's a good time for, you know, Christmas. Everybody loves the royal family. But yeah, this problem is not going away. And now we know. They knew about these claims that were coming out earlier in the year. That's why the king was forced into stripping Andrew of his Duke of Yorkdom and of his princedom and of booting him out eventually of the Royal Lodge.
Yeah,
Does he need to do more, though?
The king was dragged kicking and screaming into this very hardline action.
Yeah.
You know, we were told, oh, well, you see, remember it was when they took away the Duke of York from him. Well, you know, they didn't technically.
You can't actually take it away.
Yeah, you have to have an act of parliament.
Yeah.
However, we were told, oh, well, you can't take Prince away from him.
Because he was born a prince.
He was born, though. So we keep being fed these lines. And then
ludicrous.
6 months later, oh, you can take Prince away from him. You know, so the guidelines, the rule book keeps changing on this.
I mean, it's all invented anyway. And
the king has not been that tough on him.
He hasn't. And he will continue to live at our expense. It may be that the king is going to be, I think from the king's private, he will be financing his brother to live in a cottage on the Sandringham estate. We're all paying for the royal family. We're all paying for the king.
I've got an idea, you Madge. King Charles. Don't give him any money. Make him go and earn a living. You know, make him grow up. In fact, what he's going to be given, you know, this sort of new life of penury, will involve a free, what's called a cottage, what will be pretty much a mansion, in which he will reside at Sandringham. And he'll have a full staff. He'll have a butler, he'll have a cook, he'll have servants.
Security.
Security. You know, so the king still protects his vile brother, his loathsome brother. And I think the king ought to do more to send a message to this guy. It's all over for you. Get a bloody job. Simple as that.
Yeah, all the move will be about is about putting him further out of the public eye. It'll be about, you know, it'll be hidden. He'll be hidden away somewhere on the Sandringham estate. We see him. He emerges skulking around in his Range Rovers, doesn't he? Driving around his estate because he can't really appear in public anymore.
To which my question is always, where's he going?
Where's he going?
When
He just drives around.
You see him in his Range Rover. Driving. Where are you going? Where are you going? And then he goes for those very miserable horse rides.
Horse rides, usually in the rain, looking really miserable because he is a hated man.
Yeah. By the way, they took his gun licence away. Did you see that?
Ah, that's good.
I mean, you know,
possibly for his own security.
Well, he loves it.
Bit of shooting.
His straightforward shooting party involved lubes, sex toys, and amyl nitrate poppers. That was his straightforward shooting party for Jeffrey Epstein. The guy is a liar. He's a liar, a low-down liar. Emma, fantastic. Great first hour with Emma Wolf, writer and broadcaster. Very happy Christmas to you.
Happy Christmas.
We'll be back in a little while with commentator Robert Taylor to go through some of the big stories of the day, so stick around.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants, and as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the second hour of this morning's breakfast show. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan. I'll be with you until 10 a.m. when I do believe the excellent Alex Phillips takes over the helm of the Good Ship Talk Now, in the next hour or so, well, towards the end of the hour, if you're still planning to stage your Christmas getaway, Simon Calder, travel guru, will join us with the latest news. I think so far the news has been pretty good. Certainly at airports, a few train delays, but not too catastrophic. I think the roads might not be great. We'll be talking to Simon Calder later in the hour about the last-minute travel problems as everybody stages their last-minute getaways. So that towards the end of the hour. Robert Bates joins me in a little while. He's research director at the Centre for Migration Control. 1,200 Afghani migrants that we flew over from Afghanistan for a new life in the state in Britain. We've given them homes, we've given them benefits for the rest of their life. We told them you don't have to work, we'll look after you. They're suing us. 1,200 of them are suing Britain for a data breach because their details were allegedly leaked accidentally by the Ministry of Defence, allowing the Taliban to know who collaborated with the British during the war. So these people are repaying our generosity to them by suing us. Isn't that special? We'll talk about that in a little while. Charlotte Griffiths from the Mail on Sunday, editor-at-large, will join us to talk about the royals, specifically Andrew, but we'll have a little look at Meghan as well, shall we? That's a little later. But first, let's go through some of the big stories of the day with political columnist Robert Taylor. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Kevin.
We've got some serious stuff to discuss, but hey, it's Christmas. Let's have a bit of fun first. This is, we've played Keir Starmer's soul-destroying, life-sapping Christmas message to the people just a few minutes ago. And if you thought that was bad, here's the Lib Dem leader, the absurd Ed Davey. Take it away, Ed.
Now, this Christmas tree behind me gets a lot of abuse every year. And I have to admit, on the surface, it does look a little underwhelming. But it's also my favourite Christmas tree. You see, this tree is a gift from the people of Oslo to the people of Britain for our support during the Second World War. They've sent one every year since 1947 to the people of Norway during that dark period of Nazi rule. Britain became a symbol of freedom and hope. So this tree is about friendship and loyalty. It makes me think about people standing together in tough times, whether against the Nazis in 1940s or right now in Ukraine. So Merry Christmas from my family to yours.
I always find, Robert, that a good subject to allude to during a Christmas message is the Nazis. So well done. Did that sort of lift your spirits for the festive season?
I did wonder when I was listening to that whether it was some kind of spoof, actually.
He is a spoof. He's a parody of himself, that guy.
It's quite sweet in a way,
yeah,
but
it's
just so sort of oily. It's almost spoof-like, but he's got to say something, hasn't he, Kevin? So why not talk about the Christmas tree in Trafalgar Square?
Yeah, and my question for the day on Talk, a lot of the hosts like to have questions for the day. I don't, but I'm going to have one today. So everybody, the question for today for this morning's breakfast show is, what is the point of Ed Davey? 0344 499 1000. I haven't had any calls on that, Robert, so far, because I don't think anyone can actually answer it. They can't find any point to Ed Davey, and I certainly would sympathise with that viewpoint. Let's move on to something rather more serious. This extraordinary U-turn, yet another U-turn by the Labour government, by Keir Starmer, this time on his deeply unpopular farmers' inheritance tax policy, raising the limit, if you like, for a 20% hit on inheriting farms from £1 million valued farms to £2.5 million. Good victory for the agricultural communities. Not perfect, but better than nothing. A little too late for Jonathan Charlesworth, a farmer in Yorkshire, whose father, Phil, real name John, but he was known as Phil to everyone, took his own life a few months back in order to spare his family having to pay this cruel tax. Starmer last week conceded the suicide among some farmers who were trying to save their children from this cruel, very prohibitive tax to 20%. He conceded that suicide has become a bit of a thing. So he's U-turned on it, but too little too late for Jonathan Charlesworth and apparently other farming families as well. What were they thinking? I mean, what do you think, first of all, about this government that keeps bringing in these unpopular policies? For example, axing the winter fuel allowance. Then the whole country goes, that's horrible, why we hate that, we hate that. So Starmer and Reeves go, all right, we'll get rid of that policy then. Farmers' Inheritance, oh, we hate that, well, okay, we'll U-turn on that. Now, it's good in a way that they see the error of their ways, but it is not good that we have a Prime Minister, and for that matter a Chancellor of the Exchequer, with the backbone of a jellyfish. They've got no resolve, they just keep U-turning.
Yeah, and it's actually even worse in that it's a U-turn on a U-turn. This inheritance tax, I don't think it was on their manifesto. And Labour gave the farmers every impression that they were on their side. I think that was exactly pretty much what Keir Starmer said to the farming community before the election. So it wasn't in the manifesto, as far as I understand. Then it became a part of the budget, and we led to immense cruelty, including this suicide. And now they've U-turned. So they've U-turned on a U-turn, in addition to, as you say, Kevin, the winter fuel U-turn, the disability benefits U-turn, the workers' rights U-turn, the inquiry into the grooming gangs U-turn, and the 2-child benefit cap.
It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
It is the U-turn government. And you say, why do they do this stuff? I think they do this stuff because they really didn't have any plan for government. They came out with these glib sayings like smash the gangs, reduce the cost of living, no taxes on working people. It was all just strap lines, and they actually had no plan for government, and now it's all coming home to roost.
Yeah, and I mean, what do we do about this? I mean, we just played Keir Starmer's Christmas message. It was all a very happy Christmas from my family to yours. And you're thinking, what kind of a happy Christmas have you given the nation? I mean, this last year of Labour chaos has been pretty much catastrophic, hasn't it?
It's really been awful. And, at least one thing we can say about Keir Starmer is at least he's appearing in front of the cameras. Where is Rachel Reeves? I mean, this was her policy in her budget, and I didn't see her on the cameras yesterday. I didn't see any statement from Rachel Reeves yesterday about this U-turn. Why isn't she fronting up here? We need to have accountability. And if you're going to have a massive U-turn, I agree with Kemi Badenoch. This is an enormous, almighty U-turn. They fought against it. I think we need to see the Chancellor as well as the Prime Minister explaining why it's happened.
Well, we know what they did with this U-turn on the inheritance tax. They tried to slip it under the carpet last minute, just as we go into winter recess. But again, people are saying, there's quotes today from various unnamed Labour ministers and MPs saying, the trouble with Starmer and Reeves is they are terrible at politics. The idea that somehow or other they could quietly stage a massive U-turn on farmers' inheritance tax, and if they just quietly did it just before winter recess, no one would notice, is for the birds. Ridiculous. Of course we were going to notice. Do they really think they were going to get away with this? It's pathetic, isn't it?
It is pathetic, but I mean, my views on this, I write about it a lot. I think it's a pathetic government. I think it's a government that got in on a false prospectus. We were desperate. The voters were desperate for change after 14 years. But maybe we didn't give enough thought to the government we were electing. I think they have been pathetic, desperate, and I think, quite frankly, they owe not just the farmers an apology, but all of us an apology.
Absolutely. Now, I think it's generally accepted that the question about Starmer going forward is not if he is defenestrated from number 10, but when. At what point this year will he go? Because Labour can't go on under his hopeless leadership. They know that, because that's a popularity problem for them. They can't go into the election with this guy in charge. So what would be your guess, Robert, or your estimation of when he will have to step down?
Well, it's looking like after the May local elections, although they're trying their best to make sure there are as a few local elections as possible, of course, Kevin. But I think the May local elections, we know it's going to happen in Scotland and Wales, some English councils. It's going to be disastrous for Labour. Already, they're lining up to replace him. Streeting, Rayner, Burnham, possibly Miliband are the obvious names, maybe Mahmood. I cannot see Starmer lasting next year. And I think the most likely time is probably after the catastrophic May elections.
And who would be your favourite, I mean, when I say favourite, I mean in betting terms, to take over?
Well, if Burnham was a Member of Parliament, I'd say probably him. I can't see him getting a seat, or I don't think it's going to be very easy for him to get a seat, which he'll need to stand, of course. So I think it's looking like Miliband or Rayner.
God.
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer Streeting. If I had to choose a Labour leader, I would choose Streeting, but I don't think he'll get the support of enough of the voters. And the voters, of course, are the members of the Labour Party who will select Starmer's successor. So I think it's looking like Rayner or Miliband.
Yeah, God almighty, because, of course, ironically, Wes Streeting, who has almost openly declared war on Keir Starmer. His problem is he's seen as being too close to Keir Starmer, more of a Starmer acolyte. And, of course, the membership of the Labour Party, if you want to know how crazy that lot are, their favourite cabinet minister by a country mile is Ed Miliband. Their second favourite is Angela Rayner. We might end up with the Miliband-Rayner double ticket, which just doesn't bear thinking about. You thought it was bad now. You wait till that lot get hold of the reins. Unbelievable. Let's quickly talk about not a political issue. It's a police issue. I suppose it is a political issue as well. But the Avon and Somerset police, with 4 days to go. Bob Villan on June the 28th at the Glastonbury Festival stood there shouting, "Death, death to the IDF." A blatant call for Jews to be killed. Now that would be, I would say, a clear infringement of our hate crime laws. I wish we didn't have hate crime laws, but we do. They were infringed there quite clearly. That was a call for the death for Jews to be killed. So that is an incitement to racial hatred and incitement to racial violence, I would suggest. The police have decided after 6 months, or nearly 6 months, they've got 4 days to go before the statute of limitation runs out. So if they hadn't have said anything, it just would have gone away anyway in 4 days' time. They say there will be no charges brought against Pascal Robinson Foster, the lead singer of Bob Villan, because they say the threshold for a criminal prosecution has not been reached. Well, so in that case, if you want to call for the death of Jews, if you want to publicly shout "kill Jews," then head down to Avon and Somerset, where the police don't seem to think that is against the law.
Yeah, and it's the double standards, Kevin. I mean, unlike you, I think this is an immature little virtue signaler, this Bob Villan person, and we should just ignore it. And if he wants to say death, 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 the IDF, just let him get on with it. Just ignore it. That would be my choice. But in a society where you send Lucy Connolly to prison for 2 years for an offensive tweet, that was a deeply stupid offensive tweet, then surely we need to get consistency. And what about arresting Graham Linehan at Heathrow Airport and keeping him under sort of police guard for 24 hours or what it was for a silly joke on Twitter about the trans community? We've got to have some consistency. If you arrest Graham Linehan, why aren't we arresting Bob Villan?
If you look at the way these pro-Palestinian marches are staged, are policed every weekend, sneaking through our cities and towns, there is a definite case to say that the police are extremely lenient on anti-Semitism, extremely lenient on Jew hatred. They turn a blind eye to it. And this decision, which incredibly the Avon and Somerset police said was a very complex case. It's not a complex case at all. They said it was very complicated, and after much deliberation they've decided the criminal threshold has not been reached. It's another example of the police going easy on anti-Semitism or Jew hatred, isn't it?
It is, and we read today, according to a survey, that fewer than 1/10 of British Jews believe that the authorities are doing enough to address and punish anti-Semitism. So around 80 or 90% of Jews do not trust the police to protect them. And who can blame them? Who can blame the Jewish community when this sort of thing is going on, where there are awful terrorist incidents, one up in sort of Manchester a few months ago, of course, Australia last weekend. If I was a member of the Jewish community, I'd be absolutely terrified.
Absolutely. Just before you go, story out today. In actual fact, tomorrow, Christmas Day, very special day for many of us, but not for the migrant crisis, just another day, but worth pointing out, some of the papers have today, that tomorrow, Christmas Day, like every other day of the year, will cost us, British taxpayers, £5.3 million in hotel bills for asylum seekers around the country. There are now 36,000 asylum seekers living in expensive hotels. They all cost about £143 a night. Now, this bill, despite what the government says about moving more and more migrants into military barracks, fewer and fewer in hotels, this bill, the way things are going, is likely to be significantly higher this time next year. This migrant crisis is spiralling out of control. The government only on Monday conceded that over the next year, 2026, the number of illegal crossings, it's going to end up about 42,000 this year, the second highest on record. They conceded on Monday that that number is unlikely to fall in the year to come. It's more likely to go up. So this government is doing nothing. It has no deterrence, and the situation just goes from bad to worse with a clueless government with no idea at all how to solve the migrant crisis.
Yeah, and before they came in, we at least were making some sort of effort with the Rwanda policy that we know was having an impact, and now we've got exactly the different message, the opposite message, which is not Rwanda, it's a nice hotel over Christmas. What an incentive to people to risk their lives across the channel. I can't think of a worse and more self-defeating message to come from the government.
Absolutely. In fairness to the government, people say there are no deterrents to people crossing the channel. There are. Well, there's one: bad weather. So for 4 weeks until last weekend, but one, not a single crossing because the weather was bad. Then the channel became a mill pond, and last Saturday week 737 came across. Saturday just gone 803. Last week more than 2,000 migrants crossed the channel. That is so when the weather is good, they will come. They will come. They will invade. It's carrying on and on and on, and we have a government with no idea what to do. That's a national scandal. Robert, thank you so much for an excellent 20 minutes, and a very happy Christmas to you.
And to you.
Robert Taylor, their political columnist. Next up, Robert Bates from the Centre for Migration Control. We're going to talk about the migrant crisis generally, but 1,200 Afghani migrants who are here at our generosity. We flew over from Afghanistan to live here. We've given them benefits for life. We've given them homes. We've told them you don't really have to work if you don't want to. They're suing us for a data breach because they say the Ministry of Defence accidentally released their details to the Taliban, and therefore they had to flee their country. Is that a way to say thank you? And we'll no doubt end up giving them loads and loads of money. We're already giving them benefits and houses. What more do they want? Let's talk about that next.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest, who's Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control, Robert Bates. Good morning, Robert.
Morning, Kev.
There's a lot of aspects I want to talk to you about the migrant crisis, but this has just cropped up. We've been flying over for a long time secretly thousands of Afghanis. These are the suspiciously huge number of Afghanis who apparently collaborated with the British during the war there. You know, if you were to believe every single one of them, you know, nearly every Afghani wasn't fighting with the Taliban, they were fighting with the British. So everybody that says, yeah, I was a collaborator, I helped the British, oh, well, come on over. Now, so we've been flying them secretly into this country for some time. They're still coming. Now, the reason for this, admittedly, there was a big mistake by the Ministry of Defence. There was a data breach. So through this data breach, the word was the Taliban were able to access the names and addresses of Afghanis who helped the British and indeed the Americans during the war. This was a threat to their lives. As such, we stuck them all on aeroplanes secretly, flew them into Britain, whereupon they went to the top of housing queues, social housing queues. They were given houses, they were given benefits for life, told you don't really have to work ever again. So yes, we made a mistake, but boy, oh boy, did we come good on that with what we did for these people. 1,200 of these people. By the way, there are 70,000 Afghani migrants living in this country. About 35,000 of them came in under this resettlement scheme, this secret resettlement scheme. 35,000, 1,200 of them are suing this government for that Ministry of Defence data breach. Now, I'm not saying that we didn't make a mistake. I'm suspicious about how many of these Afghanis actually were collaborators with the British during the war. That notwithstanding, we've gone to the ends of the earth to help these people, flown them over here, given them houses, given them benefits for life. They are literally told you don't have to work for the rest of your life. This is how they repay us, suing us.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, actually. Is there anything grubbier as a profession than immigration lawyers? At every opportunity, they seize any case they can get their hands on to work against the interests of this country. But when it comes to the individuals that are making these claims, you're absolutely right. They will now live in a very, very enjoyable situation. And effectively, we are their land of milk and honey. Data, whichever way you look at it, suggests that even if they did have requirements to work, very few actually would. They will, as you say, be a long-term fiscal cost when it comes to welfare. And yet they are now looking for another handout up to £250,000. And when it comes to this data, of course, many of those on that list hadn't worked with us at all. And I think actually this idea that we had a duty to evacuate everyone on that list really is a kind of outdated sense of obligation that doesn't really carry in modern foreign policy. And actually, we need to get away from this notion that those Afghans that were working with Britain were doing so out of love for king and country or some sort of weird sense of patriotism for Britain. They weren't. They were doing it because it was probably a very well-paying job. They're well remunerated, and it came with a lot of social stature as well. So I think it's ridiculous that we have bent over backwards to accommodate individuals such as these, and we're now actually being sued by them as well. And it just shows, really, we are seen as such a soft touch. We're seen as a laughingstock, just there effectively waiting to hand welfare payments, money, support, accommodation, anyone in the world who effectively wants it at this point. And I really think those immigration lawyers and data lawyers that have taken this on have a lot to answer for. I think it's absolutely despicable that they think that just because there has been a mass evacuation, that they're now going to compound the problem and make the British taxpayer, who hasn't done anything wrong, fork out millions of pounds as a result of it.
Yeah, and I'll guarantee you these 1,200 Afghanis will win their case. They'll get a fairly big whack, you know, probably 50, 100,000 quid or that. So then the rest will do it. And we'll pay them as well. It is absolutely crazy. Meanwhile, Robert, what did you make of this announcement on Monday that the government does not expect the number of migrants coming across the Channel? This year it will end up around about 42,000, it's looking like, the second highest number on record. The government said on Monday it does not expect that number to come down next year. In other words, they expect it to go up. Meanwhile, you know, tomorrow, Christmas Day, like every other day of the year, taxpayers will fork out £5.3 million to keep 36,000 asylum seekers in expensive hotels, each costing 143 quid a night. That situation is only going to get worse, whatever the government says. The government, despite Shabana Mahmood's alleged hardline crackdown, is making plans quite clearly for the migrant crisis not to improve but to get worse. What on earth is going on?
Well, there's been a few failures from this Labour government that I don't think are being talked about enough, actually. The first being the number of individuals being put in hotels has gone up, despite this government promising that they were going to close all hotels. And of course, they've actually put out contracts for hotels way into the 2030s. So they're clearly expecting this problem to not go away on that front. Of course, we've also seen a record number of asylum claims under this government. We've seen a record asylum bill as well. It's now costing us about £5 billion a year. And that is before we even get into the fact that those that get their status granted, of course, are more likely than not to claim universal credit. I think 66% of those people that are refugees in this country are on universal credit. So there's long-term costs there that aren't accounted for. I don't think anything has changed in this last year. The Labour government have not introduced a single plan that you could look at and objectively say this will have an impact on those coming across the Channel. So their admission that the numbers are probably going to stay the same next year really actually is just a recognition of a very basic fact that everyone in the country could have told them months ago. And in fact, it's only just dawned on them that what they're doing is not having a material impact is a bit worrying. But to be honest, I wouldn't expect much more from a dismal Home Office that actually now is needing to be put in special measures, in my opinion. And just to give a scale of just the sheer cost this will see, every single individual that comes across on a small boat wipes out the lifetime tax contribution of a median earning British citizen. So every single one of those people coming across effectively cancels out any fiscal contribution that we could expect from someone, a hardworking Brit, alarm clock Brit, and those that are getting up and making a contribution. And you wonder why public services are deteriorating, why we've got such a dismal fiscal position. It is because we are just throwing money at problems where we don't need to. And actually, when it comes to the costs of hotels, I think the money could be so much better spent just upgrading our detention facilities and actually, creating those facilities where individuals can be held for a couple of weeks before they're deported. And I think any right-thinking government that comes in after this shocking performance of a Labour Party need to actually recognise that you just take that asylum bill, you just stick it in, proper enforcement of deportations and detention, and the problem will go away overnight. It will effectively solve the problem if you start making the offer that Britain gives to these people so unpleasant and nasty looking. And this really is what a deterrent is. It's about making Britain not seem like such a soft touch and El Dorado, which is really actually how we are perceived. And we're actually an outlier now when it comes to Europe, just in how generous we are being, and just the sheer gifts that we are effectively showering these people in is ridiculous when you look at some of the approaches in Eastern Europe, Central Europe in particular.
Yeah, we don't have any deterrents. We just have enticements and encouragements. It's ridiculous what we do for these people. We offer them the earth. This is the promised land for them. And you talked about how much each one of these migrants costs us when they arrive here on our beaches, having illegally crossed the Channel. You say you take one of these rather large dinghies, 60 people in them. Every single one of those 60 people in that dinghy over the next year will cost us £40,000. So if you think 42,000 probably this year by the end of the year, each one of those, £40,000. The money is astronomical. And one last point I want to make to you, Robert. I mean, I just think there's no coherence whatsoever in what this Labour Party are doing now. So they go, we're going to lose fewer hotels and many, many more military barracks. With a view to that, why would you think that after 5 years, last Thursday, in Folkestone, the Napier Barracks, which has been housing 450, 500 migrants for 5 years, was suddenly, overnight, cleared out? So how does that fit in with the policy of not using military barracks, clearing one out? When we contacted the Home Office and said, well, where the hell have these people gone? They said, we don't discuss operational details. I mean, I just think this is just ongoing chaotic panic day in, day out with no strategy, no coherent plan.
No, and a part of that is the Tories' fault for when this crisis started making wrong decisions that have put us on the track, this track that we are now on. But the Labour Party just don't have a clue. They are very, very keen to emphasise that they're shutting the hotels. They don't, of course, mention that will actually just see an increase in those being put in houses of multiple occupancy and effectively squeezing an already very difficult housing market for young people in particular. But they don't have a clue. I mean, and when you look at the contracts that they are actually operating under, the ability for them to keep acquiring what many would see as desirable sites, such as barracks, although they are only desirable if they've got barbed wire fences and guards around them. There is very limited room for manoeuvre on that front. So, and as the numbers continue to increase, the pressures and difficulties in actually finding suitable accommodation is only going to get worse. So this is really going to actually, I think, spiral into crisis in the next couple of years, because the Labour Party is going to run out of options as to where to put these individuals, and it's going to end up in increasingly unsuitable accommodation. We are already seeing instances of migrants being put next to vulnerable children's schools, playgrounds, care homes, these kind of places. And I think anyone with a right thinking mind would actually say that is entirely inappropriate. And actually what we will likely see, very sadly, is a continuation of these news stories now that are almost a daily occurrence of really, really horrible crimes being committed against British people, especially women and girls. And every single one of these stories, I think, just erodes public trust to such a low level, actually, that I really think this Labour Party is going to face a crescendo of anger in the coming years, and hopefully actually we will see in May them being really, really punished as a result.
Couldn't agree more, Robert. Listen, thank you so much for all your brilliant contributions throughout the year, and a very happy Christmas to you and your family. Robert Bates there, Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. Let me know what you think about that. 0344499 1000. 1,200 ungrateful Afghanis suing us for a breach of data. After we flew them from Afghanistan, put them in free houses, gave them benefits for life, they're now suing us. And we'll end up giving them 100 grand each, I guarantee you. Nice, isn't it? Next up, we'll talk to Charlotte Griffiths. She's the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday. I want to talk about Prince Andrew, maybe bring in a little bit of Meghan as well. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, let's go straight over to my next guest. We'll talk a few royal issues with the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday. She's had some great exclusives on the royal front this year. Welcome to Charlotte Griffiths. Good morning, Charlotte.
Hi, morning.
Well, let's talk about Andrew, shall we? If we must, no, we have to. These Epstein files, which we seem to get another 30,000 every single day. I keep hearing this is the last of the Epstein files, and the next day more turn up. At the weekend, we got this compromising picture of Andrew draped across a bevy of beauties, as they say, up at Sandringham, where basically what he described as a straightforward shooting party. It was Epstein's birthday party, was obviously a sort of sex and poppers weekend, rather atrocious considering that was the Queen's favourite country retreat. So that was bad enough. And then this latest release yesterday, there's these emails, this particular email from Andrew to Ghislaine Maxwell. He calls himself the Invisible Man, but it's pretty clear who it is, asking for her to find him some inappropriate friends. Well, we know what that means. And then there is another email where he is off to Peru, I believe, on an official royal visit, asking for pretty fun girls to make his visit that much more enjoyable. Now, every day, Charlotte, you think, can this guy sink any lower? And the answer always the following day is, oh my God, yes, he can. These latest emails, even by Andrew's standards, are indeed a new low, aren't they?
Absolutely. I think if he is the Invisible Man, and I personally think he is, that this is the best proof we've got so far that Ghislaine Maxwell was indeed a pimp, because she writes to this guy in Peru and says, please help him with some sightseeing of the two-legged variety. And he even says that his valet had died, a man that had been with him since boyhood. And he said he was kind of grieving for him, and he needed some emotional support, basically in the form of some girls during the visit to Peru. So it is a complete new low. Of course, this is exactly what the royal family were predicting, weren't they, when they cut him out of the family? They knew these Epstein files, and there are more to come. I mean, it could get lower still. This is why they cut him out completely. This is why he's been looking ashen-faced. I believe this is why he had his gun license taken away, because he knows it's going to get worse and worse and worse. He's going to get more and more entrenched in this situation. And it now, the fact that he lied in the Newsnight interview now seems almost insignificant. I mean, it's just like that. Well, that was just a lie. This is way worse. This is kind of clearly asking Ghislaine Maxwell for help, pimping girls. Yeah,
and of course, in that now notorious interview with Emmy Maitlis on Newsnight, he talked about. A journalist is in the Daily Mail today. He's revealed in his latest book, I think it's called The Windsor Legacy. I had Robert on the show on Monday, that actually this straightforward shooting weekend entailed Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and a party of other nefarious individuals going up to the Queen's favourite country retreat where she spends every Christmas, or where she spent every Christmas before her sad demise, and they were handed goodie bags full of, apparently, according to Robert, a very respected writer, of course, amyl nitrate sex popper drugs, sex toys, and lubrications, lubes. That's what guests were handed at this straightforward shooting weekend. And for the Queen's memory, I feel so sorry for the Queen. She'd be horrified by this. And what I'm asking you really, Charlotte, is does this guy, Prince Andrew, or the former Prince Andrew, does he have any sort of moral backbone at all?
But the short answer is no. I'm so pleased, as you say, the Queen isn't alive to see all this, because he completely pulled the wool over her eyes. And what Robert Jobson says in his piece today is that, you know, really she was kind of willingly blinded, you know, and looked away from this. And she was repeatedly warned by Charles and William, but she just couldn't face up to how odious her beloved son was. But also he was more or less tricking her. I mean, of course, he probably told her that the Sandringham weekend was a straightforward shooting weekend. I mean, to me, it seems like it was a straightforward sex party weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, it had every single hallmark of a sex party weekend, including 5, you know, bare-legged girls on, you know, and he stretched over their laps and posed for pictures with him. And as you say, there were these party bags found in the sinks afterwards. The other thing is, Andrew was so sloppy. You know, I think he'd actually lost perspective, as well as not having a moral backbone. He'd lost perspective. He just thought it was fine to just leave this accoutrement strewn around the place for staff to find, knowing that they would protect him and keep his secrets for him.
It's extraordinary. The more pressure, of course, these new revelations in the Epstein files put more pressure on Andrew to cooperate with the FBI. The files actually yesterday revealed that years ago the FBI was putting intense pressure on him to cooperate with their investigation into the nefarious activities of Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted paedophile, but he did not cooperate, and so far has not. We know that the king is keen for him to help the FBI in this investigation. He doesn't actually have to go to America to testify to the Congressional Committee, to their probe either. He could do that on Zoom. Now, he clearly doesn't want to do this. He's clearly reluctant to do this, but with each new revelation, the pressure on him grows to cooperate with the FBI. Do you think late in life he might finally find a sense of decency and do the right thing for once?
I do think he will eventually do the right thing, but I don't think through a sense of decency. I think the pressure will just become completely overwhelming. It's such a shame, I suppose, it's one way of putting it, for him that he didn't just do this, you know, in 2019 really, because if he just said, look, you know, I'm going to help, I'm going to cooperate, it would have done so much to help his reputation. Instead, he's let it get this far. He's let himself get booted out of Royal Lodge, forced to, you know, eventually speak. You know, and in the letters today in the papers, it said that, you know, he asked, his lawyers said, would he, you know, is it okay what would happen if he gave untrue statements? So it's like he was always intending to somehow give untrue statements. It's extraordinary, the whole thing, and I think he will buckle under the pressure. I think it will help if it's on Zoom. I think that will encourage him a little bit. But I do think in the end he'll run away to the Middle East, which is what Robert Jobson predicts today as well, and I agree with him, because he really needs to be in exile, even more exile than just going to Sandringham.
Yeah, we could do with him being out of our misery. He can go off to the Middle East and never be heard of again. That would be nice, but it's unlikely. I want to talk about Meghan Markle in just a second, Meghan and Harry, but just quickly, Charlotte, obviously it's the Queen, that mistake again. It's the King's speech, Christmas Day message tomorrow. Any word on what it might contain?
Not really, but if I predict, we will find out. We'll get a little leak closer to the time. You know, I think it will be about unity and forgiveness. And I think there will be some sentences in there that kind of allude to Prince Andrew, but we'll have to read heavily between the lines. It will be very much kind of a concealed reference, and also possibly to the fact that he's reunited with Prince Harry this year. Yeah. I think that there'll be, you know, a message of forgiveness and all that kind of thing. And, you know, he's obviously getting better from his cancer, so he'll allude to that as well. I think it's very interesting that it's going to be at Westminster Abbey and not at Sandringham, which the Queen used to give her Queen's speech. Possibly very wisely, he thinks, you know, 2 weeks after a picture of his brother on the laps of some young ladies at Sandringham, it would have been a very unwise idea. I know he recorded it quite a while ago now, and it's the second year in a row he hasn't filmed it at Sandringham. So it's a bit a real break from tradition from the Queen's speech.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll do a good job. I wonder if he's as proficient as his mother. They used to call her one-take Liz. She always did it in one take. I'm sure the King's very good at it as well. They get rather practiced at broadcasting, these royals. Before you go, Charlotte, a quick word on Meghan. Well, Meghan and Harry, I think, interestingly, have laid off yet more staff. 3 staff have gone from their Archewell Foundation, or I think it's now called Archewell Philanthropies, isn't it? For some reason, they've changed the name of their charity. But they say this is inevitable in a non-profit organisation. Looking back on this year for Meghan, it hasn't been a great year, has it? What's your assessment?
No, it hasn't been a good year for Meghan at all, and she's desperately trying to control the narrative around these staff members going, as they always do. They lose staff members the whole time. They always say it's inevitable, it was expected, it's not because of Meghan's personality, of course, because, you know, they would do that. But the numbers are really stacking up. I don't know where we're into now, in, you know, a dozen or so, or more. And it hasn't been a good year for Meghan, really, because of her series, because she really wanted 2025 to be the year that her own Netflix series, her cookery show, which is all about her, not about Harry, not about slagging off the royal family. She wanted that to take off, and what happened was it didn't at all take off, and then she's just released her holiday special, her Christmas special, and really that's the swan song for the series. It's, you know, she's saying goodbye. It's not the launch of her new series for 2026, and I think that'll be really disappointing for her because it just wasn't authentic. You know, it wasn't in her house. Harry was barely in it. It didn't show us really the real her. And so I think in 2026 she'll be having a great big rethink and trying yet again to find a new way to make money and a new kind of image to portray to the world.
Exactly. I mean, she's a shapeshifter, that's for damn sure. I should congratulate you on one of the great scoops of this year when you revealed in the Mail on Sunday this kind of initial peace talks between Meghan and Harry's PRs, who came over allegedly secretly to London to meet up with some of King Charles's people, and you got the scoop. You got a picture of them chatting away at a private members club. Those attempts to heal the rift, which you so brilliantly revealed, haven't come off, have they?
Well, they made a bit of progress because then, of course, after that meeting at the In-N-Out Club, they did actually meet up. You know, we had those pictures of Harry going to Claret's house and meeting.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then they have stayed in touch over Teams meetings, I heard. They don't use Zoom, strangely. And they do apparently call every couple of weeks. I do think there will be a Christmas call tomorrow. But it is slow progress, I agree. Yeah. I think Harry, well, I know Harry's going to come over in the new year, and I think he will see his father again. But his father is rightly being very cautious. So he does want to reunite with his son, and they are making headway, but the meetings are very controlled, short, you know, basically sort of listened into to make sure that none of this comes out in an open interview. So it's a trust-building exercise for Harry, and that means that's why really it's slow progress, because, you know, Harry has proven himself to be very untrustworthy recently.
Indeed. Well, it's been a hell of a royal year, and no doubt next year will be a hell of a royal year as well. Charlotte, congratulations again on one of the scoops of the year, and great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Charlotte Griffiths, editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday, who, as I say, had a great story that time. It's only a couple of months ago, was it 3-4 months ago, when there were these secret meetings in London between Harry and Meghan's PR people and the King's PR people. Only Charlotte got the scoop, got a picture of them chatting away on a balcony of a private members club in the central London. So good for her, and as I say, trust me, next year will be a hell of a royal year. But the big story, I guess, of the year, Meghan and Harry always massive on the royal front. Meghan barely capable of ever putting a foot right. Harry's not far behind her. But the big story was the dramatic fall from grace of a man this time last year who was the Duke of York, His Majesty, His Royal Highness the Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, His Royal Highness, is now Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, having had everything stripped from him, including now even his gun licence. Extraordinary. Next up, it's last-minute getaways for Christmas. We'll talk to Simon Calder, the guru of travel, about what's going on the roads, the planes, the trains and the airports. So that next, stay tuned.
I was sat in the tent and he was showing me through photos of his phone, scrolling through. This was barbaric, horrific stuff. Blokes going through walls in vehicles and then jumping out and shooting everyone. His WhatsApp picture was him with a mask on, with a gun like that.
You're in a tent with this guy?
I'm in a tent with this guy, and actually he's just showing me this stuff. I'm just thinking, this is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. After the 8 o'clock news, Emma Trimble, formerly Emma Webb, she'll be joining me to talk about some of the big stories of the day. I want to ask her, she's a committed Christian, Emma. I want to ask her about the BBC and Christianity. We'll talk about that and other issues after the news. But first, it's your last chance to get away for Christmas, Christmas Eve. Let's get the 11th hour Christmas travel news from the guru of all travel, the travel correspondent at The Independent, Simon Calder. Is that all they call you, Simon, travel correspondent?
That's what they call me, yes, or voice of travel doom. But luckily today, things are looking pretty good. Here at Manchester Airport, the only problems I've encountered was that EasyJet cancelled last night's flight from Tenerife to Manchester, right, which was quite concerning for a couple of hundred passengers. They've been told, we will get you back on Christmas Eve, either to Manchester or to Liverpool, but they're likely to arrive around 11 o'clock tonight. And I've just been talking to a guy who's 2 days late back from Sydney because of delays and cancellations on Qatar Airways. But apart from that, things are looking pretty smooth. I've also checked Heathrow, Gatwick, Stansted, Luton, Birmingham, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Belfast, and they're doing pretty well. So if you're flying, the chances are you're going to get where you need to be, more or less, on time, which I'm delighted to see.
Trains, Simon, trains, how are they looking?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me about that. It's a shambles, OK? There are tens of thousands of passengers yesterday who were caught up with cancellations and delays on the East Coast main line because of a signalling problem. Today, we got a signalling problem at Rugby on the West Coast main line. So I've seen at least half a dozen cancellations between London Euston and Birmingham New Street. Tickets are being accepted from Marylebone to Birmingham. Elsewhere, cross-country trains, once again, are cancelling and curtailing loads of trains through Birmingham New Street, and basically you just have to hope for that your train will be running. Now, crucially, Kevin, trains are winding down early. Some last trains, for instance, London to Edinburgh or to Glasgow, leaving at 4:30 this afternoon, and all the trains will basically be tucked up in bed by midnight. The only trains tomorrow are between Heathrow terminals, so you can shuttle around the Heathrow terminals, but that's the only train you're going to get tomorrow, and it's free. That's the good news.
Perfect. Now, finally, you've got 30 seconds. The roads, how are the roads?
Well, actually, things aren't looking too bad. The RAC has predicted today is going to be the biggest getaway day, but there aren't that many people commuting or on sort of business trips. Expect lots of jams around the M25, particularly near Bluewater, Heathrow, going up to the M1. All the main motorways will be busy, and the M60 here in Manchester is also going to be busy, particularly around the Trafford Centre area.
Well, Simon, thank you for that roundup, and I want to thank you. What would we do without you, for all your brilliant contributions through the year? Very happy Christmas to you. The amazing Simon Calder, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, Emma Trimble on the big stories of the day. Stay tuned for that.
This journey of me following migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning, all around the clock, to late at night, to the point where, on buses, on trains, through streets, at every key point, French military police and the French police, they were there. They were on the bus, taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there. I was sat in the tent and he was showing me through photos of his phone, scrolling through. This was barbaric, horrific stuff. Blokes going through walls in vehicles and then jumping out and shooting everyone. His WhatsApp picture was him with a mask on, with a gun like that.
You're in a tent with this guy?
I'm in a tent with this guy, and actually he was just showing me this stuff. I'm just thinking, this is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, welcome back to Morning Glory, as it is now called, but on January the 5th it will be called the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. So you are with the remnants of Morning Glory. That's me, Kevin O'Sullivan. No Morning Glory with me, I'll tell you. In a little while we're going to talk about the Bob Villan story. Why is that guy not being charged? We'll have to ask Avon and Somerset Police. We'll also talk about Every drivers, you know, the Every delivery service. Well, apparently they've their drivers have been stealing Christmas presents. That's nice, isn't it? And we're going to talk about the BBC and religion. But before we get to any of that, let's talk to someone who I can't get used to not calling Emma Webb, because she went away and then she came back as Emma Trimble. I think she got married during the interim. Welcome, Emma. How are you doing?
Merry Christmas, Kevin.
Merry Christmas to you. Now, you're a committed Christian, am I right?
I am.
Good. I'll talk to you about the BBC in just a little while. Now, we're going to talk about some of the big political stories in just a second, but we've been doing that all morning anyway, so let's do something slightly different. This is massive on Twitter. It is a call to Muslims let's get this right. It's a call a reminder for Muslims about the dangers of getting involved in Christmas celebrations. This has gone viral on social media. Have a look at this.
Oh my God, you look so cute. Right here. Okay. MashaAllah, adorable.
Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Walaikum assalam.
Are you guys celebrating Christmas?
Sure are.
Beautiful lights, Christmas vibes, it's the best. You do know by celebrating Christmas, you're agreeing that Allah has a son, right? Dad? Is that true?
No, baby, that's not our intentions. So it's okay to celebrate it. Don't listen to her. She's being extreme.
Actually, by participating in this holiday, you're accepting that Allah was born today. But Dad, that's totally haram.
Unbelievable. Why you gotta make Islam so difficult, huh?
Well, what do you make of that, Emma? Because, of course, Christmas is not a Muslim festival, and a lot of Muslims will decide not to celebrate it. But do you really have to put a mean, joy-killing video out like that to say, don't celebrate Christmas, don't do it, because it means Allah's got a son? What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, how dare some Muslims want to integrate into British culture. And you're celebrating Christmas. I mean, obviously, I'm not a Muslim, so I can't say what is and isn't haram, but there are many Muslims who do things like put up trees and participate in the general festivities, even if they don't believe. And that's the sort of thing that you should do if you're integrating into a society that you've moved to. And frankly, I think if particular family or individual doesn't want to integrate into the culture of this country, then they simply shouldn't be here. I mean, this really is a sort of modern Scrooge tale, isn't it? That it's sort of bar humbug. How dare you even have any kind of involvement in the general festivities and culture of this country. And I imagine that there will be some Muslims who will be looking at this. It's obviously the reason why it's been made, feeling as if they're being called out and harangued into a much more extreme interpretation of their religion.
Yeah, you've got a nice dad there with his daughter, who obviously, like all kids, love Christmas, whether or not they're Muslims or Jews. Kids love Christmas. You get free presents, all that. So you've got a nice dad helping his little girl celebrate a fun time of year. And then out comes another little girl saying, don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, come on.
It also gets worse. It gets worse as the video goes on, because it has this, like I say, like a Charles Dickens-esque vision of the future, of what will happen to this little girl if her father continues to celebrate Christmas with her. And shock horror, she takes her hijab off because how dare she expose her hair. It really is extreme. And I think people who think like this probably shouldn't be here.
On sort of the same topic, I want to ask you about this. Last week on the BBC News, Rod Little wrote about this in his excellent column in the Sunday Times on Sunday. A newsreader on BBC News at 10 began the broadcast with this. Or included in the broadcast they were talking about Christmas. It says that this is what a BBC newsreader on a main bulletin said last week. Bethlehem is regarded as the birthplace of Jesus by Christians. This is in Britain. This is a Christian country. We have an official state religion. It's called the Church of England. And the BBC is saying things to millions of viewers like, Bethlehem is regarded as the birthplace of Jesus by Christians. Why does the BBC think that somehow or other we, you and I, and millions of Brits are a kind of alien culture?
Well, I mean, all you have to do is look at the recent story of the teacher who got in a lot of trouble for telling a Muslim student that Britain is a Christian country. You want to be careful, Kevin. You might get in trouble with the police for saying something like that. But look, I think that there are two aspects to this. The first is the way that it's phrased historically makes it sound as if there is some doubt over whether Jesus was born in Bethlehem, as if this is some kind of belief rather than, as you would say, you know, any historical figure was born in a certain place. So they're injecting a kind of doubt in there. But then, as you say, Kevin, it's this constant attempt to place Christianity alongside other religions as if all religions have contributed equally to the country that we now live in. We are still a country that has an established church, and I think long may that continue. But the idea that Christianity should be placed alongside other religions as if they are sort of equal with respect to British history, I just think is wrong.
Yeah, it totally is. The BBC sort of leading the charge into turning British Christians into some kind of alien race. Really weird. Now, bear with me, Emma, because I've already played Keir Starmer's soul-destroying, life-sapping Christmas message. I've already played Ed Davies, the Lib Dem leader's Nazi-packed Christmas message. And I keep droning on about the Nazis. I don't know why. So I've got to, in the interest of balance, this is I'm going to play Kemi Badenoch's Christmas message. So let's have I haven't seen it myself. Let's have a quick watch, shall we?
So to all of you working over Christmas, I want to say a huge thank you for keeping the country going. Life can be amazing, but it can also be bumpy. Christmas is a chance to reflect on the year that's been, be grateful for the good things, mourn what we may have lost, and look forward to what we are going to do in the coming year. With that in mind, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has supported me during my first year as leader of the opposition. It's been the biggest challenge of my life, but it's also been a wonderful year. I can't wait to get back to work next year to create a better United Kingdom. But in the meantime, I wish you a very Merry Christmas.
I've got to say, Emma, having seen the other two, having endured the other two, that's the best of the three. Very straightforward, very happy Christmas. Well done, Kemi. She's improved, hasn't she, over the last couple of months? So seems to have hit her stride. I fear it may be too little too late. She took too long to find her feet, but was magnificent, for example, after the budget. I mean, really slammed Rachel and Keir Starmer down. She's getting better, much better, but I think the Tories, people are in no mood to forgive the Tories for 14 years of betrayal, as the various leaders from Starmer to Theresa May to Boris Johnson to Rishi Sunak just sort of abrogated the Conservative message. They just wanted to be Labour light and to say, oh, look at us, aren't we wonderful, signalling our virtue. Oh, let all the migrants come in, that's just fine. I think that so bad were the betrayals of the Tories for 14 years that whatever Kemi manages to achieve is too little too late.
Yeah, Kemi's had a very good run over the last couple of months, and actually she's been very good, as you know, we've been talking about Christianity and Christianity's role in our country, the fact that we are still in a very profound and fundamental sense a Christian country. Kemi has been very good on that, even though she has herself spoken about how she's more of a cultural Christian.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, it means that you have lost your faith.
Yeah, but you believe in the principles of.
But you believe that you believe in the principles of Christianity. You might have an appreciation for either for the culture that results from it, or church services and so on. So But she's also, in recent months, started to use more religious language when she's talking about particular issues. And she talks about, the immorality of certain policies, which is very new, actually, in British politics. You're seeing so much talk of things being compatible or not compatible with Christian values. But I think ultimately, unfortunately for Kimmy, I think we've reached the point now where it almost doesn't matter what the Conservatives say or what the Conservatives do. They're not going to be able to inspire confidence in the British public because the British public have stopped paying attention. All you have to do is look at the opinion polls, how much further ahead in the opinion polls Reform are now. I think that fundamentally the British public just do not trust the Conservatives anymore. And it may be, as you say, Kevin, a bit too little too late.
Yeah, she's the right leader at the wrong time. Definitely the most likeable of the leaders, there's no doubt about that. But as I say, she's inherited a poison chalice full of betrayal. It's interesting you say she's a cultural Christian. So on that basis, I would regard myself as an uncultural Christian. But there you go. By the way, I'm going to midnight mass tonight. You pleased with me?
You sound like a cultural Christian, Kev.
Yeah.
There's no way that you're not. I mean, so many of us are so fundamentally marinated in Christian culture that we don't even realise how Christian we are. Yeah. Our culture, British culture, British values, even the idea of secularism comes from Christianity. And so I think people just don't, you're like fish, just don't realise the water that they're swimming in.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I'm not a particularly, I'm not a believer, I don't think, but I think I am, as you say, inculcated by Christian values, which are basically the values of decency. Let's quickly talk about politics. Let's talk about Keir Starmer. We've been talking about this all morning. The farmers' inheritance U-turn, yet another U-turn. This must be something like the 6th or the 7th significant U-turn on policies that this government brought in. We have to abandon the winter fuel allowance. We just can't afford it anymore. Oh, wait a minute, you don't like it? We can afford it. Oh, well, we've got to cut back on the welfare bill. We've got to get 5 billion, hopefully 30 billion off, because we just can't go on. Oh, wait a minute, we can go on like this. Now, the farmers' inheritance tax, which, by the way, I only learnt this morning, if they'd have brought in this £1 million limit on inheriting farms, 20% tax, it would have brought the government in something like £530 million, which is utter peanuts. They didn't have to do this. Deeply unpopular policy. Yet again, he's U-turned. It's now, that limit's gone up to £2.5 million. Not ideal, but a significant victory for the rural communities. But what it really does politically is underline the immense weakness of this Prime Minister and the Chancellor, who have contrived to turn a massive majority in the House of Commons, an unprecedented majority in the House of Commons, into sheer weakness. Extraordinary.
Yeah, the amount of money this was going to raise initially was pittance. The amount of money that this is going to raise now is only 300 million. I think that's probably less than it costs to run the NHS for a day. So, you know, I think it's good news that they have increased the threshold, because so many of these farmers are not going to be affected by it. I don't think it goes far enough. You know, farming equipment and land and all of those assets are worth so much money, but those are tools for people to do their jobs. They shouldn't be taxed in this way. It's not actually very difficult. Never mind the previous threshold. It's not difficult to reach that 2.5 million threshold just on farm equipment alone for a reasonable family size, a reasonably sized family-run farm. And the fact is that this policy has already cost lives. There was a story in today's Telegraph about how one of these farmers already committed suicide because he was worried about the threats of this government bringing this inheritance tax in. He wanted to make sure that his children would be able to continue the family farm.
I can tell you, let me just sorry to interrupt, but I know of that story. You're talking about the father of a Yorkshire farmer, a good guy called Jonathan Charlesworth, who I've interviewed a couple of times. And as he's saying today, this policy came too late for my family because his father, who was known as Phil Charlesworth, real name John, took his own life in order to spare his family what would have been a 20% tax burden when they inherited the farm. So he took his own life before the policy came in. So as he's saying today, well, it's too late for my family. And Keir Starmer last week conceded that Phil Charlesworth's suicide was not the only one, that there have been other suicides in farming communities. So Starmer, I was going to say, to be fair to him, I'm not sure that's the right comment, he did take this on board, and it is thought he's the one who said, right, enough is enough, we have to get rid of this policy. But it proves that this government don't think things through, and also that when they bring in an unpopular policy, they have the backbone of a jellyfish. They just fold and U-turn every single time.
They have blood on their hands, and I think this should be a reminder to this government that we've talked about this plenty of times before, but when the government introduces this level of doubt, even just in pure economic terms, they're making business owners' lives hell, because people, or even just normal people, they can't sell their house, they can't get on with their lives because they don't know what lays around the corner with Rachel Reeves's constant threats of further tax hikes. But in this particular case, and people warned about it from the very beginning, people's lives were at stake in a way that the policy was almost incentivizing farmers to commit suicide in order to keep farms, yes, families that had farmed that land for maybe hundreds of years. This policy was from the very, very beginning fundamentally cruel and inhumane. And we were talking a moment ago about Kemi Badenoch and how she's increasingly using the language of morality. I mean, she said explicitly that this policy was immoral. So I really think that that the government need to reflect on the consequences of the uncertainty that they are creating for the British public, because they are really in real terms, and they might not see it and it might just look like statistics, but they are ruining people's lives.
Yeah, and just to show you, give you a quick tableau of what this policy led to, Jonathan Charlesworth, who, as I say, I've interviewed a couple of times, told me one morning, very early, as farmers tend to start their day, he walked into his father's room and found his father dead. His father had taken his own life in order to spare for his family. That's what this policy led to. Starmer, late in life, I think, kind of realised that. That's one of the reasons he's U-turned. But this government, as you say, in terms of this policy already, has got blood on its hand, and that is an utter disgrace. Emma, listen, I want to wish you a very happy Christmas and a very happy New Year, and we'll get that drink in next year that we keep talking about, 100%. Emma Trimble there, political commentator. Next up, I'm going to talk to Nicole Lampert, old colleague of mine, a journalist and a very powerful Jewish voice. We're going to talk about Bob Vylan and why the government has decided not to prosecute its lead singer, Pascal Robinson Foster, for shouting death, death to the IDF at the Glastonbury Festival, a clear call for violence, racially motivated violence against Jews. In fact, a clear call to kill Jews. That, according to the Avon and Somerset Police, is apparently legal. Interesting. We'll talk about that next. Stick around.
2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest, journalist Nicole Lampert. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, Kevin. Happy Christmas.
And to you. But not a happy Christmas if you feel that Bob Vylan, or rather the singer of that rap outfit, Pascal Robinson Foster, deserved to be prosecuted for what he did at the Glastonbury Festival. He chanted on television and to hundreds of thousands of revellers at Glastonbury, death, death to the IDF. The IDF is the Israeli Defence Force. That was a clear call for Jews to be killed. Now, I've got my reservations about hate crime laws. I'm not entirely convinced that people should ever be prosecuted for things that they say, but they're there. Those laws are there. For 6 months, June the 28th, he did this. For 6 months, nearly 6 months, Avon and Somerset Police deliberated, talked to the Crown Prosecution Service, put out a statement a couple of months ago, an absurd statement saying this is a very complex case. No, it's not. And now they have issued a statement. They only have 4 days. The statute of limitations ran out on the 28th of December. After that, the case would have had to be dropped because they hadn't done anything in the 6 months required. Now they've issued a statement saying, we have concluded after reviewing all the evidence that it does not meet the criminal threshold outlined by the Crown Prosecution Service for any person to be prosecuted. No further action will be taken. Now, if the hate crime laws are there, which they are, and if calling for the death of Jews is clearly racially motivated incitement to violence, then Bob Vylan or Pascal Robinson Foster surely should have been prosecuted. What is going on here?
I think that the Crown Prosecution Service is massively struggling with how to cope with anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, and often it's because it doesn't present as kind of normal racism that is couched in different terms. But it should be just said that Pascal Robinson, before going into this chant about death, death to the IDF, went on a rant about working for a bald Zionist C word. So, it was clear that he was talking about not just the people in the IDF, but also Jews in general. He was talking about a British Jew that had been his manager. So that was part of the racist chant. And after it went on, there was a huge spike in anti-Semitism. And as part of their statement, Avon and Somerset Police say that it's clear to them that words like this have consequences. But they don't, not in this case. And what we've seen is that since he went on stage and kind of led an almost Nuremberg rally whip up of hatred, where it's not just him shouting death, death to the IDF, but it's the entire crowd who were already there waiting for kneecaps. So already ready for a load of pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, anti-Jewish activity. It was them screaming it, and that in some ways was more terrifying. And then in the kind of wake of Manchester and Bondi, we see how that words do have consequences, and we see how they continue to be ignored when it comes to words against Jewish people.
Absolutely right. And basically, as I said earlier in my monologue at the beginning of this show, around about 6 in the morning, if you fancy calling for the death of Jews, if you fancy shouting, kill, kill, kill Jews, nip on down to Avon and Somerset, where the police and the Crown Prosecution Service have concluded that that is totally legal. It's not legal. It's not legal. They've just decided that it's kind of okay to call for the death of Jews. What on earth is going on? I just don't get it.
Well, it's not just them. It's you know, it's the globalised intifada, which in some ways is even more extreme. It's a call to, you know, the intifada were terrorist activities against Israelis, people blowing themselves up on buses and in cafes, more than 1,000 dead. And that is what the intifada was in the context of Israel-Palestine. And for months now, for years, in fact, we've had people going on about intifada on our streets, intifada revolution. And even that, even in the wake of Bondi, and Keir Starmer has said, yes, it's bad. Even then, only the Metropolitan Police and Manchester Police have said that they will do anything about it. And so far as I know, there's been one arrest on it. And that's it. And it just feels that we have dead Jews now. There's been dead Jews in Manchester, America, France, Australia. We're allowing people to call for the death of more Jews, and yet somehow that's acceptable. And all this does is encourage people after the Glastonbury set. That call, death, death to the IDF, has been repeated on the streets of Australia, London, you know, all over the world. And now the police say it's fine, you can all say it, and so they all will say it. And because that's the other thing, there's been a ceasefire now for 2 months, but the protests continue and in many ways have become more dangerous, more extreme, and certainly at universities and places like that are happening every other day, and in London in particular. So it's it just feels like, you know, how many dead Jews will it take for you to do something about this?
Yeah, I had Paul Smith on yesterday, the editor of the Jewish Chronicle, and I said, this is a disgrace they haven't charged. He said, well, in fairness, they've still got 5 days to go. And then today, or later, after I'd spoken to Paul, came this announcement from Avon and Somerset Police that they wouldn't go ahead with charging this guy. He's undoubtedly broken the hate crime laws. There's no doubt about that. And yet, for some reason, the cops down in the West Country have decided he hasn't. But this sort of thing is the thin end of the wedge. You know, just before Bondi Beach, a few days before, there was a pro-Palestine, as their so-called demonstration outside Sydney Opera House. These pro-Palestine marches, pro-Palestine protests are actually anti-Jew protests. They're Jew hate marches. That's what they actually are. There's this protest outside Sydney Opera House, and they're chanting, gas the Jews, gas the Jews, and the police just stood on and watched. In other words, they tolerated it. They didn't arrest anyone. A few days later, Bondi Beach happens. When you tolerate this sort of thing, bad things happen, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I should just say that demonstration outside the Opera House was on about October 8th, 2023. So it was an immediate reaction to the October 7 attacks. But there have been many other protests.
It's very strange, isn't it? Right after October 7.
Well, that's it.
The response is gas the Jews. That's nice, isn't it? Unbelievable.
Yeah, and the thing is that's been allowed to happen, and we saw that on the streets of London. I will never forget. You know, I was literally I was on the phone to people who were still in their safe rooms in Israel, and you know, I was speaking to people whose families had been taken hostages. And obviously, I used to work at the Daily Mail, which is very near.
I remember, Nicole. I remember.
It's very near the Israeli embassy, and I remember seeing, because the streets I know really well, filled with people celebrating. And because that has been allowed to happen, we have now seen this ramping up over 2 years of people calling for people to gas the Jews, intifada, death to the IDF. And now we are seeing that happening, that playing out in real life, where people have tried to kill them, where people have succeeded in killing us. And as well as affecting Jews, this is also about all of us. It's about Western values. It's about, do we allow hate crime? It's about the fact, often this is used to attack Britain as well, in that Britain is somehow seen as allowing Israel to get away with what they call a genocide and all of that. So this is actively anti-Western values. And a lot of these ideas were started by the Soviets. It was called Zionology in the 1950s and 1960s, in that if they can't attack America straight on, so they attack Israel, which is seen as a kind of little America, because has democratic values, and it's about creating this love for Soviet values particularly in the kind of third world. So the idea of Zionism is racism, Zionism is colonialism, and although the Soviet Union broke up 20 odd years ago, or longer actually, those ideas continue to percolate and continue to be dangerous to the West.
Exactly right. Make no mistake, the Western world is suffering from this, particularly in Australia as well, obviously, but here especially. We are suffering an explosion of anti-Semitism that I find confusing, considering it is in the wake of October the 7th, where 1,200 innocent Jews were slaughtered, raped, put in ovens, babies beheaded. After that, the fact that the response by so many people was to hate Jews seems to be very strange. But we are in the middle of an explosion of anti-Semitism, and something needs to be done, and Avon and Somerset Police have not helped that one bit. Nicole, stay strong, keep up the fight, and have a great Christmas.
Thanks, Kevin. Happy Christmas to you and everyone watching.
Thank you very much. The brilliant Nicole Lampert there. Now, let us go to break. When we come back, a nice festive story for you. The delivery service, every drivers have apparently been stealing Christmas presents. That's nice, isn't it? We'll talk about that next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is a story of the Every Delivery Company, EVRI. There's a video going round of the moment that an Every courier quotes delivered, close quotes, a parcel before picking it up and driving off. There have been dozens more complaints flooding in about missing or damaged deliveries. Footage taken on a home security system shows this guy walking up to the front door of a house and tapping the details into his handheld device, but instead of leaving the box, he tucks it under his arm and walks away with it to his car. The flabbergasted homeowner, Steve Beresford, posted this footage on Facebook and was contacted by a woman who lived a few miles away who also had footage of what appears to be the same man turning up at her home and acting suspiciously. This same man, we're told, was an employee of Every, the delivery company. Let's talk to the founder of Fair Cop, Harry Miller. Harry, welcome to the show. Happy Christmas to you. But not a very happy Christmas for these people whose Every drivers are walking off with their Christmas presents. That's not very nice, is it?
No, very, very un-Christmassy, I would say. But this is about what we've come to expect from certain delivery companies like Every. My wife will no longer buy anything if it's going to be delivered by Every, because out here in the sticks in Lincolnshire, nothing gets delivered. It all just gets dumped in some ditch somewhere, and you're left with a note saying we couldn't find your address. It's just absolutely appalling. But I think it goes in this video, which you've encouraged your viewers to watch, which is in the news. This goes beyond simple incompetence and carelessness that we've come to expect from particularly Every. This is criminality. And I don't know what the value of the present was in that box. But what I do know is that somebody had an expectation that it would be received on time. Somebody had an expectation that they'd be able to wrap it and give it on Christmas Day as a present. And that particular dream is ruined. Now, what's interesting, I think, is going to be how the police and the Crown Prosecution Service respond to this sort of thing. Because my guess is that they will view it as a low-level, almost irrelevant sort of crime, a sort of luxury crime, the kind of crime that you were talking about in your previous section, the crime like you know the complete dismissal of crime surrounding Jew hate. Well, I rather suspect that they will take a similar attitude when it comes to the purloining of somebody else's presence by Every and other delivery drivers who aren't entirely honest. So I'm hoping that's not the attitude of the police and the Crown Prosecution Service, but pardon me if I don't hold my breath, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly right, Harry. I mean, you know, Every are getting it in the neck, but I wonder if other delivery drivers do this. I'll tell you what I find annoying is the way that quite often these delivery drivers, I've experienced it myself, they can't really be bothered to get involved, and they just say they've delivered something or they tried to, and they don't actually ever turn up at your house. I mean, most delivery drivers obviously do a good job, but there are these renegades and these rogues. We're looking at it now. We're just watching this video now. So there he is. He's you saw him there. He's back in his car with the present. So he put the present down, put all the details into his little gizmo, and then got back in the car and drove off with it. Now, what he's going to say is, I delivered it and I left it on your doorstep, isn't he?
Yeah, that's not a delivery, is it? It's not delivery either. You've generally speaking got an option. If nobody's in, there will be a designated safe space that you can put it in, a shed, a wood shed, over a gate, whatever. It's not leaving it on the street outside the front door. It's definitely not that. This is a level of incompetence that I think the British public have every right to be sick and tired of, because it's not right, it's not British, it's not honest. And when you add to that opportunist thieves who then take these presents, that is theft, and the police need to get involved. Now, a little bit of good news for you, Kevin, is that with the non-crime hate incidents being scrapped, the police should now have more time to visit upon thieves and other dishonest people, a consequence to their actions. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we got any comment from Every on this, but I'm sure they're... Oh, here we are, yes. Every spokesman said This was about this delivery to Mr. Bereford's house. Unfortunately, this parcel did not have a house number or name, which understandably confused the courier, who was new to delivering in the area. The courier followed our guidance and took the parcel away with them, as they were unsure if they were delivering to the correct address. They said attempts had been made to contact the customer. Well, the customer feels, that's Mr. Bereford, that his parcel was just misappropriated, was taken away by the Every delivery. Rather than saying, oh, well, no, this is company policy, Every needs to have a good look at this, doesn't it?
Yeah, it needs to have a good look at it. But something that the great British public should do, in my opinion, is to get back onto the high street. Go shopping. Take your bags and go shopping. Give your money to the person over the counter and take your goods with you. I think that's the best way, because this delivery service, although it's convenient for a lot of the time, there are far too many opportunities that you will give a whole host of people to pocket up, or to nick your present and then have absolute deniability about it because they say, oh, unfortunately, the instructions weren't entirely clear. Well, I'm sorry, that's not our fault. That's your fault, Mr. Delivery Company. You get your system right, or don't sell us this so-called package of delivering packages when you are clearly unable and too incompetent to do it. So my advice to the great British public is go to your shopping centre, go to your high street and hand over some hard-earned cash and take away the goods in your shopping bag, wrap it up and put it under the tree. That way, job's sorted.
Absolutely. My advice to these Bright Spark delivery drivers is this. Get into Google, put Ring in, have a look at what that does. What that does, you dim people, is it films you when you go up to people's doorsteps, and you will be caught on camera nicking the parcels, you morons. It's about time. You would have thought they might have found out about the Ring app, wouldn't you? Before you go, Harry, let me ask you about this. I wanted to get this in. We're moving on, as it were. Greta Thunberg, the Doom Goblin, has been having another one of her protests. She's come to London this time and was arrested yesterday, supporting Palestine Action with a placard supporting Palestine Action. That is supporting a prescribed terrorist group. That is actually a terrorist offence. So she has been arrested at this demonstration in Fenchurch Street in the city. There she is. When hammers and red paint were used to damage a building there. But she has been, a 22-year-old woman was arrested at the scene. She was arrested for displaying an item, in this case a placard, in support of a prescribed organisation, in this case Palestine Action. Contrary to Section 13 of the Terrorism Act 2000, she has been released on bail to a date in March. Why did they release her on bail? I've had enough of this woman. Why don't they put her into custody? Then she would stop irritating every damn country she ever goes to with her puerile and juvenile demonstrations and protests. Stick her behind bars. Teach her a lesson, yeah?
That's what I would do. But of course, we know full well what the narrative would then be. It would be that the British police kidnapped her. And I think probably putting her in jail, arresting her, letting her go. What they should have done, of course, was deport her, get rid of the cretinous little doom goblin, because we don't want people on our streets who are supporting terrorist organisations. It's like in the 1970s or the 1980s. If you stood on the street with a great big sign saying "Go the IRA," we would expect you to be arrested. In the 1940s, if you stood on the street with a sign saying "Whoopee for Hitler," you would be arrested. This is exactly the same thing. If you are supporting a terrorist organisation, we do not want you on our streets. We want you either in prison or booted out of the country, and we want it done toot sweet, because we should have no time to indulge these cretinous people who support terrorists and mock our country and mock Israel, in fact. by holding up signs which glorify and encourage people to join a global intifada and commit the sort of atrocity that we saw at Bondi Beach just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, she seems to have abandoned campaigning to save the planet and now sort of campaigns for any fashionable cause. I mean, she's not the brightest thing. She's not the sharpest pin in the packet, you see, Harry. That's what happens when you spend your entire youth sitting on pavements protesting about climate change when you should be at school. What happens when you don't go to school but instead sit on pavements going save the planet? You end up being thick as a brick. I give you the Doom Goblin, Greta Thunberg. Harry, happy Christmas to you. Thanks for your time, mate. Take care. Harry Miller there, founder of Fair Cop. After the break, we're going to talk about the BBC and its strange announcement about Christians in Bethlehem. We'll talk to Catholic journalist and commentator for Caroline Farrow next. Stay tuned.
Brand new for 2026. It's going to be the only way to start your day. It's the home of common sense. It's where the nation can come to speak about the day's news. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You know who you are. You get up, you graft, you work hard. I'm here for you. We want to hear your side. Promise you one thing. It is where the nation can and will come to talk. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, weekdays from 6 a.m.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the BBC and let's talk about Christianity. It seems to me that the BBC needs to understand something. This is a Christian country with an official state religion, and that official state religion is the Church of England. To wit, well, let's get on my next guest. She's Catholic journalist, commentator, Caroline Farrow. Good morning, Caroline. Very happy Christmas to you.
And to you, Kevin, and to you.
Now, I want to ask you what you think about what a BBC newsreader said last week at the beginning of the news at 10, or in the middle of the news at 10, watched by millions of viewers. She said this: Bethlehem is regarded as the birthplace of Jesus by Christians. That's the BBC broadcasting to the British people. Do they think we're some sort of alien culture? What is going on there?
It's hard not to see it as anything other than a deliberate snub to Christians, and also kind of treating the general population as if we're stupid. Just to be really clear, Bethlehem is not regarded as the birthplace of Jesus Christ simply by Christians, but by everyone around the world. And it's almost as if, well, okay, Bethlehem, Jesus, this is just this weird thing that only Christians believe. Now, in the Bible, there are two different infancy narratives for Jesus. The gospel writers, the evangelists, Matthew and Luke, and they both describe Jesus's childhood and infancy. And they're quite different, but they agree on fundamentals. And one of those fundamentals is that Jesus was born in Bethlehem. And there is no other historical source saying that he was born anywhere else. The only people who have ever tried to cast doubt on whether or not Jesus was born in Bethlehem have been atheists years, hundreds of years later, sort of looking back at the Bible and doing sort of contemporary textual analysis. But the two historical sources we have both say the same thing. And it's not just Christians who believe that Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and it's not even like a random abstract belief. Bethlehem, the Church of the Nativity, where I've visited, is actually in the West Bank, which is owned by Palestinian or occupied by Palestinian Muslims, and it's actually Muslims who are the guardians of that church. And they make sure that when you go and visit the Church of the Nativity, you're dressed correctly. So this idea that it's just this weird thing could not be further from the truth.
I mean, the way that was announced, Bethlehem is regarded as the birthplace of Jesus by Christians, as if we were going to go, Bethlehem? No, I've never heard of that. Who is this guy, Jesus? I must find out about him. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. I want to play you now, Caroline, if you don't mind, a video that has been posted on social media that's gone viral. It is a call for two Muslims to not get sucked into celebrating Christmas. Have a look at this.
Oh my God, you look so cute. Right here. Okay. MashaAllah, adorable.
Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Walaikum assalam.
Are you guys celebrating Christmas?
Sure are.
Beautiful lights, Christmas vibes, it's the best. You do know by celebrating Christmas, you're agreeing that Allah has a son, right, Dad? Is that true?
No, baby, that's not our intentions. So it's okay to celebrate it. Don't listen to her. She's being extreme.
Actually, by participating in this holiday, you're accepting that Allah was born today. But Dad, that's totally haram.
Unbelievable. Why you gotta make Islam so difficult, huh?
So, Caroline, that's posted by a site called 5 Pillars, a UK-based news site covering current affairs related to Islam and Muslims. Now, a lot of Muslims, I mean, obviously Christianity and Jesus and Christmas is not their festival. A lot of Muslims quite reasonably might decide not to celebrate it. Others got kids. All kids love Christmas, like this dad here who's just trying to give his little girl a good time at this special time of year. They're being demonized in this video as if they're doing something terribly wrong. I think this kind of video is pernicious.
Well, you've got to remember that 5 Pillars is actually probably what the BBC used to be, because it's there to sort of educate from a Muslim perspective, and I say educate with air quotes because I don't believe in Islam, but that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to spread Islam, and in one respect they're right. Islam does recognise Jesus as a prophet, but not as the Son of God, and. To go back to the BBC, Lord Reith was the son of a Presbyterian minister, and the BBC's original motto was to inform, educate, and entertain from a Christian perspective. And the BBC's motto is from Isaiah, let nation speak peace under nation. Now, I can really understand that Muslims don't want to celebrate Christmas, but they also have to accept we are in a Christian country. This is the culture and the history and the fabric of the United Kingdom. So, you know, it's actually saying to people, we're going to undermine this British value of Christmas. And it's a shame that the BBC can't go back to their original charter. You've got a picture of the BBC there. The old broadcasting house actually has a Latin inscription above it, which is, you know, based on the Bible. So just as the BBC is moving away, well, it isn't just as, the BBC has moved away from its Christian principles or Christian founding principles for very many years. One of the reasons I stopped watching it is because they stopped having a dedicated religion or even Christianity correspondent. And whenever I wanted to watch anything on iPlayer, anything in the religion category, I couldn't find. And now we have these really ignorant news producers and newscasters who are just imposing their own agenda. So an example is, the other day I was asked to give my opinion on the new appointment of the appointment of the new Archbishop of Westminster,
Yes,
Bishop Moss,
yeah.
who is
the leader
my
of
own
the Catholic faith here, yeah.
Well, yeah, he's not the leader of the Catholic Church, but he is the Archbishopric of Westminster is the most important diocese.
Anyway,
so
yeah.
I was asked to give my opinion, and the BBC presenter asked me, is he able to meet the biggest challenge for Christianity, for Catholicism in the UK today? And that is, and I'll use air quotes, the alleged appropriation of Christianity by the far right and Tommy Robinson.
Really? Really?
The biggest problem that Catholicism had to face.
No, that isn't the biggest problem. I don't think it's much of a problem at all, to be fair.
No, and again, this is that it was assuming very many things. It was assuming that the alleged far right, the emergence of Christianity is an issue. Actually, from my perspective, seeing people out on the streets and celebrating Christmas and saying let's put Christ back into Christmas is heartwarming. It's wonderful. It's lovely to see.
Absolutely, Caroline, just be careful. Avoid Planet BBC at all costs. That's my advice. Very happy Christmas and New Year to you once again. Thank you so much for your time. That's Caroline Farrow, Catholic journalist and commentator. Next up, Sir John Redwood on some of the big stories of the day. That comes straight after the 9 o'clock news, so stay tuned for that.
This journey of me following the migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning, all around the clock, to late at night, to the point where, on buses, on trains, through streets, at every key point, French military police and the French police, they were there. They were on the bus, taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there. I was sat in the tent and he was showing me through photos of his phone, scrolling through. this was barbaric, horrific stuff. Blokes going through walls in vehicles and then jumping out and shooting everyone. His WhatsApp picture was him with a mask on, with a gun like that.
You're in a tent with this guy.
I'm in a tent with this guy, and actually he's just showing me this stuff. I'm just thinking, this is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. A strange unidentified yellow orb has been spotted above the skies of London. Yeah, the sun's come up. It's actually a stunning day. At the moment, Christmas Eve, we're told, but certainly around London, in the south, it might be quite nice tomorrow as well. I mean, very cold, but one of those, looks like today's shaping up for one of those nice, crisp, cold, bright, sunny winter's day. Excellent. Let's hope it's the same tomorrow for all of us. No chance of a white Christmas, I guess. There goes that £1,000 I put the bet on. No, I didn't. But seriously, not a white Christmas perhaps for most of us, but maybe a sunny Christmas, which would be nice, wouldn't it? In a little while, we're going to be talking about Christmas TV. Is there anything worth watching? Caroline Farrow said, I don't watch the BBC anymore because of their mixed religious messages, etc. I don't watch the BBC anymore because there's nothing on it to watch. Nothing worth watching. Load of old rubbish. But in the meantime, for the next 20 minutes or so, let's spend it in the excellent company of former Conservative MP, Sir John Redwood. Good morning, Sir John. A very happy Christmas to you.
Yeah, good morning and happy Christmas to you and all your listeners and watchers.
Now, let's get cracking, shall we? What are your thoughts? We've been covering this all morning, obviously. This latest of many dramatic U-turns by this government. They bring in these unpopular policies like the winter fuel allowance, getting rid of that. They decide to make the welfare bill smaller. That doesn't happen. They have to backtrack on getting rid of the winter fuel allowance, and now the farmers' inheritance tax. They've U-turned on that, backtracked, saying that the limit for this 20% tax on inheriting farms will no longer be £1 million. It will be £2.5 million, which will still affect some disgruntled farmers. So it's by no means a perfect policy. It plays into the hands of the left-wing Labour backbenchers, many of whom now are rural MPs, unusually for the socialists. They've been telling Starmer, you've got to backtrack. He's U-turned again. He's U-turned again. Every time this guy announces a policy, wait for him to rescind it. What is going on here, John?
Well, he's out of his depth, isn't he? He keeps announcing very damaging things, and then it takes him a very long time to understand that his critics are right and that it's undermining the popularity of his government and it's doing damage to the country. I mean, one cheer for a partial U-turn so that the smaller farms now escape this extra tax. But some of the medium-sized family farms are still going to be clobbered, and that isn't welcome at all. And we've seen the pressures that's created on a lot of the farmers that we depend on to grow some of our food. And we saw the same thing, as you rightly point out, with the treatment of pensioners and then the treatment of the disabled. And I and other Conservatives were shouting from the sidelines saying, don't do it, this is unpleasant, this is clumsy. The Labour Party never really believed in any of those things, but it took him a very long time to wake up. And when is he going to wake up to the huge damage his jobs tax has done? Because we've lost so many people from our hospitality industry, and hospitality is really struggling.
Can you remember, in your long experience, John, I've been around a few years as well, can you remember a more catastrophic year for any government than Labour has just treated us to?
No, I think it's the worst I've ever seen, because they came in with high hopes, although they didn't get a hugely good support in the ballot box, but they obviously had a very large majority. Those of us who didn't want a Labour government wrote nice things and said, we wish you well and stick to what you said in your manifesto on issues like taxation. And then they immediately tear up their promises and they go wild and they lurch leftwards. And it's not enough for their leftwards inclining MPs, but it does huge damage to the economy. And you're showing excellent scenes here of the scale of protests which they encountered very quickly after that disastrous first budget.
So, like you, John, I would never sort of instinctively support a Labour government, but I remember when Tony Blair came in. I still don't really like anything that Tony Blair ever stood for. However, so there's a government. They won several elections to stay in power for a long time. There's a government I didn't like politically, but you couldn't criticise them in terms of their competence. They got a lot of things wrong in my view, but they were competent. What worries me about Starmer's government is I don't like them politically. That's a given. Probably the same for you. What really worries me, that our problem with this lot is they are staggeringly incompetent. They're just no good at anything. Am I right?
You're exactly right, and it's because they don't have a theory or a narrative, as they now say, that makes any sense. And they rightly say that the way out of the problems of taxes being too high and growth being too slow is to go for faster growth and the economy will come right. But then every policy they put in place, the higher taxes, the regulations, the bans, the dear energy, prevents us growing faster. And then they get in a panic and say, oh, well, then why don't we get closer to the EU? They haven't noticed that the EU is growing even more slowly than we are most of the time. And that the runaway success is in the United States of America, but they can't bring themselves to see that by having cheaper energy and lower taxes, America just does so much better.
Exactly right. Now, the consensus, the common thought is that this next year, it is not a question of if Keir Starmer goes, it's a question of when he will go. Do you buy into that? Do you believe he will go this year? And if so, sort of when? I would imagine it will be after these local elections, that he's trying to get rid of as many as possible. But they will still happen. They will still reveal Labour to be in a bad position. I imagine he may go after that. Do you agree with that? And if so, who would you suspect of the many unimaginable contenders will win the battle to defenestrate the Prime Minister and move into number 10?
Well, I've never thought he would go before the local elections, and I think the closer you get to the local elections, the more idiotic it would be for his opponents to try and upend him just on the eve of those, because they would then get more of the blame for what could well be very bad results. Immediately after those elections, he's actually most vulnerable because he's already extremely unpopular, and several of his colleagues and the mayor of Manchester are busily trying to undermine him. But even so, it's going to be difficult for them, given the processes within the Labour Party. And from the country's point of view, the front runners that the Labour Party might want to choose from would probably make things worse rather than better. So I'm not standing on the sidelines thinking it'd be a really good thing if Keir Starmer fell, because at least he sometimes, with Rachel Reeves, sees that they need to try and get a bit closer to balancing the books. Whereas if you had somebody like Ed Miliband wanting to intensify the damage all those net zero policies and subsidies are doing, or somebody like Angela Rayner who wants to regulate business out of existence, it could be even worse than what we got at the moment.
But you do think that he will go? I mean, I do think he'll go this year. They have to replace
Well, I think he might go. I wouldn't be giving a very firm forecast on that, because the system to get rid of a Labour leader is not nearly as easy as the Conservative system turned out to be.
Yeah.
And if Labour looked at the results of the Tories getting through 3 leaders, they might see that it doesn't produce an immediate answer that is satisfactory to the incumbent party.
Exactly right. Listen, let me ask you about this, John, if I may. Not so much political, more legal, really, but does play into the political arena. I believe that Avon and Somerset Police have made a disgraceful decision, along with the Crown Prosecution Service, not to prosecute the lead singer of the rap band Bob Vylan. His name is Pascal Robinson Foster. There you see him at Glastonbury on June the 28th. He stood there shouting at hundreds of thousands of revellers at the Glastonbury Festival, and indeed, by extension, millions of live viewers on BBC TV. Death, death to the IDF, calling for the killing of Jews. The Avon and Somerset Police, they had 4 more days after today, till the 28th of December, before the statute of limitations ran out, and they would not have been able to be prosecuted at all. But they have late in life announced that this case has been very complex. Is it? And their decision, though, is that the threshold for criminal prosecution of Pascal Robinson Foster has not been reached, and therefore he walks free. There will be no proceedings against this man. Well, if we are to allow people to shout and scream at hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, kill Jews, and to decide that that is legal, what the hell is illegal?
Well, I think that's a very good question, and I think it shows a lack of leadership from the Home Secretary and the ministerial team. I think there's great uncertainty in the country about what is hate speech and which hate speech should be prosecuted. And this case reflects that, with the prosecuting authorities not coming to the conclusion that many other people might have come to. But I think this isn't a need for political leadership, and it's been sadly lacking. We need to know what is hate speech and what is unfair interruption of free speech. And clearly, this government doesn't have a clue about that.
And given what happened in Manchester, obviously, by the way, that was October the 2nd, 12 days after Keir Starmer recognised Palestine. On that very same day, September the 21st, Australia recognised Palestine. So given what's happened in the wake of that, the Manchester atrocity, Bondi Beach in Australia, but here, we have seen an explosion of anti-Semitism, and I think what would have been good in terms of the Avon and Somerset Police, and by extension the Home Secretary, what would have been good would be a message to be sent that we do not tolerate Jew hatred. We do not tolerate the calling for the killing of Jews. And yet the message that has been delivered is the opposite of that. I don't think that is a good thing.
No, I agree, and that's why I think we need to have proper political leadership, and this is something where Prime Minister or the Home Secretary have been lacking. They should make very clear that anti-Jewish thoughts and deeds and words are getting out of control, and what are they going to do about it? And they need to send that clear signal to the police over the allocation of time and over judgments about what is something that should be prosecuted.
Absolutely. Let's talk about non-crime hate incidents. There was a story on Monday suggesting that police chiefs had finally seen the light and had realised that what is not a crime is none of the business of the police. So they have, since 1999, 26 years, more than a quarter of a century, the police have been wasting our money and their time recording incidents that are not against the law, non-crime hate incidents. If I report you, my neighbour, for saying something racial about me or something, and the police don't think they can prosecute, they've been writing it down. And therefore, there's a kind of a sort of de facto criminal record against me that could affect my chances of employment, etc. Now, it turns out that the police chief saying we're going to stop doing this is not quite the case. They're going to stop doing it in serious cases, except for, I should say, serious cases. So they are going to carry on recording non-crime hate incidents. Your leader, your party leader, Kemi Badenoch, is saying not only should they stop doing this altogether, but the old non-crime hate incidents must be wiped from the records. Because, as I say, this is a de facto, effectively, when they write your name down in a non-crime hate incident as the perpetrator, that is a kind of a criminal record that could affect your chances of employment, affect your chances of foreign visas for international travel, etc., etc. We should stop these altogether. But if nothing else, we should wipe the slate clean right now, as Kemi Badenoch quite rightly says, in my view.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kemi is exactly right on this, and it is quite wrong that people are subjected to a lot of interviews and to slurs on their character because they've said something nasty. Lots of people say nasty things all the time, but these are not crimes. We have a law which says that certain could be said that are crimes. Incitement to violence, go and murder somebody, something like that, is obviously a crime. And that's what the police should always have concentrated on. They should not have invented this new category of nasty things that people say that clearly aren't incitements to specific violence. And it's also about the use of police time. We don't want the police spending time on these things because there are much more important crimes that need tackling. Serious anti-Semitism in this area, but also things like shoplifting. We have this avalanche of shoplifting going on, and it's hurting shops, and it's meaning that more shops will close because they're experiencing unreasonable levels of theft and provocation.
Yeah, and the real problem with non-crime hate incidents is it's purely allegation. You know, so if I phone up and say my neighbour said something nasty to me, they just write it down without any real investigation. So it's all done on the basis of, alleged offence taken. So the reporter of the offence is immediately sort of believed in these records, and that's got to stop. It's rather sinister, to say the least. A quick last comment from you, if you will, Sir John. On Monday, the government announced that it did not expect the numbers of illegal channel crossings by unlawful small boat migrants to come down in this year to come, 2026. Over the past year, by the end of this year, we're looking at around about 43,000. It's currently standing at 41,600, I believe. That's the second highest number on record. Government saying don't expect that to come down next year. Well, that's a pretty depressing forecast, and an implicit admission by this government that it has no idea what to do about our spiralling migrant crisis. That is terrifying, isn't it?
Well, it's really worrying. We saw a new Home Secretary put in with tough rhetoric to try and persuade us with her words that she was going to solve this problem, because they'd already broken their manifesto promise to smash the gangs. And now we discover, as you say, she has no idea how to smash the gangs. They're not doing some of the most obvious things you would do to smash the gangs. They threw away the Rwanda idea, which, if it had been buttressed against legal challenge, meant there was somebody you could send these people to when they'd arrived here illegally. Labour don't have anywhere to send them, so the truth is these people are going to come, and then they'll either be granted permission to stay or they'll stay anyway, because Labour still hasn't solved the problem of where you send the illegals when they've been found to be illegal.
Exactly right. It's a depressing vision for the next year, but with Labour, that is so often the case. Sir John Redwood, thank you so much for your time, and once again, a very happy Christmas to you.
Let's cheer ourselves up anyway, and have a good Christmas, everyone.
Exactly right. Next couple of days, let's forget about it all, have a few drinks and enjoy ourselves. All the best, Sir John. Thank you very much. Sir John Redwood there, former Conservative MP. I believe he's about to get elevated to the House of Lords, I do believe. Should have asked him about that. But after the break, we're going to go back to the farming issue and talk to Gareth Wynne-Jones about this U-turn, this backtrack by the government on the inheritance tax policy. That next. Stick around.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the inheritance tax, the farmers' inheritance tax. Amazing U-turn by the government. You can rest assured that whenever this government brings in a policy, about 6 weeks later, they'll backtrack on it. They'll get rid of it. They haven't quite got rid of the inheritance tax, but they have made the threshold a lot higher. So until yesterday, it would be £1 million. If your farm was worth more than £1 million, £1 million or more, 20% inheritance tax when you pass it on to the next generation, which is what farmers do through the generations they have. We have farms in this country, families that have had farms for hundreds of years, and hitherto they were always able to pass them on because that's how you keep our agriculture industry going, and we need our agriculture. £1 million, they've changed the threshold to £2.5 million, £2.5 million, which is a big step forward, proving that this government has no backbone, but that's good. But is it all well and good? Let's talk to farmer Gareth Wynne Jones. Gareth, you must be pleased about what's happened, this £2.5 million new threshold, but it's still what we really want, or I would imagine what you want, is for the whole idea of an inheritance tax for farms to be got rid of altogether.
Yeah, it's a move in the right direction. Let's not try and hide away from that. I think as well, it's taken them 16 months or whatever to get to this position. It just shows you how stupid this government is and how much they don't really understand the importance of farming and food security. Going forward, I don't think anybody in the country should be paying inheritance tax. We pay tax on that money to buy our land, buy houses, businesses. Why should they pay inheritance tax when people close their eyes for the next generation? But we've got to take the positives out of this. It'll help a lot of people that are under the threshold, but there's still many, many more above that threshold, and then people are still going to be struggling, have sleepless nights. It is time for change, and I think this government is beginning to listen, because there has been an absolute war on the countryside, a war on our way of life, and it will affect everybody in the long run. Every single government across the world will regret what they're doing to the farming communities at this moment, because this is not just in the UK. Globally, we can see it in Greece, we can see it in Brussels, in the EU. There's many farmers in France as well feel very, very disheartened at the way we're governed by these people, and attack the countryside and the farmers and our way of life needs to change.
Yeah, the Labour's attacking you in the same ways they attack old people. They assume that people in rural communities don't vote Labour. They assume old people don't vote Labour. I think to a large extent they're probably right, but that's what socialists do. They attack the people that don't support them, and that's why I think they've hit the farmers. The £1 million...
Need to eat. The socialists need to eat like everybody else. And
totally.
And this is, really important, where we're in, a so-called climate crisis, and food is at the highest it's been in a long time. Inflation on food is still going up on a daily basis. The poorer people in society are going to pay for this. We should be building a better Britain on our bellies, and it should be starting with the farmers. And that's what government should be doing worldwide, and especially here in the UK, when we've got fantastic farmers producing top quality food to feed our nation.
Yeah, you talked about how this was a cruel policy. I think it was deliberately to attack people who don't vote Labour, because the £1 million threshold apparently would only have made this government about £500 million, which is peanuts. They're just attacking people they don't like. And Keir Starmer last week had a meeting with some farmers, and he did seem to register this really tragic fact that this policy led to suicides. There's a guy, a Yorkshire farmer called Jonathan Charlesworth, who I've interviewed several times, who one morning went to get his dad, who was about to pass his farm on to Jonathan, and found his father dead. His father had taken his life to avoid the inheritance tax, and I believe suicides have happened in other farms as well. Starmer registered that fact, and it is thought that he finally realised that this is not right. But by God, Gareth, a policy by a government that has caused farmers to take their own lives. It doesn't get worse than that, does it?
No. You know what? I don't trust the man at all. If he hadn't realised there'd been thousands of farmers demonstrating in London, and not one of them people wanted to be there. Them people wanted to be at home with their families, producing food to feed the nation. And this is why he needs to wake up and smell the coffee. You know, while he's flying away globally all over the country doing all kinds of deals, he needs to protect the people in this country and the people that are feeding the nation, which are the farmers. And mental health and, you know, suicides have never been higher in the industry. And that's because government policies are putting so much pressure. You know, supermarkets as well, with price cuts, red tape, with all the rules and regulations we have to jump through. There's massive pressures on the industry. And there's no young people coming into it. Who will feed this nation in 10, 15 or 20 years? It'll be big factories giving rubbish to the next generation, you know, which will absolutely demolish our health system again. And our health is our wealth, and we are what we eat. So we need to be protecting the farmers. And I'm glad they've done a U-turn, but it's not enough. We want more. And, you know, they are now with this animal welfare bill. That has been a little bit of a smokes and mirrors with this tax coming out yesterday. And this is taking away that from the countryside. You know, they are trying every which way they can to stop us and our way of life. And it must stop. It must stop today.
Well, listen, Gareth, well said. I want to thank you, for being a farmer, for helping to feed the nation, and all your colleagues as well. I also want to thank you for an amazingly agricultural scene behind you. Those, are they bulls or cows? I don't know. Anyway, lovely scene, and a very happy Christmas to you. Congratulations on a fantastic campaign that forced this government into a humiliating U-turn. Well done. Thank you, Gareth. Take care now. Gareth Wynne-Jones there, farmer, eloquently, articulately summing up the plight of our farmers and this government that doesn't seem to understand that. These people are crucial to us. They're not only crucial to feeding the nation, they're crucial to the British way of life. Farmers are part and part, they're in our DNA, and these attacks on farmers, you know, by a government that just doesn't like people who live in the country. It's just disgusting. It's causing mental health crises, it's causing suicides. Come on, Starmer, sort yourself out. Moving on, after the break, talking of disasters, we're going to talk about the TV schedules over the Christmas period. I suggest you stay tuned to talk, I really do. We'll talk to Sarah Robinson, entertainment host, after the break. What's on the telly this Christmas? Not much as usual. In fact, the same as always. We'll run through some of the highlights stroke lowlights of the festive TV schedule next, so stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now for something like 12 long years I was a TV critic. My job was to watch telly 35 hours a week on average. 35 hours a week, you know, all that X Factor and all that crap. So I used to have to watch all those soap operas and all that, and then write a column for the Sunday Mirror every Sunday. People used to say, well, how come you hate every single programme you review? I said, because I don't write a column about good TV, I write a column about bad TV. It's boring. Good TV is boring. It's funnier to watch bad TV. Not much but good TV around. But the reason I'm telling you this long-winded story about when I used to be a TV critic is I'm looking at the Christmas Day schedules on the TV, and I stopped doing this in 2016, so 9 years ago. The schedules have barely changed. Same old rubbish on the telly, on the BBC and ITV. Let's talk to entertainment presenter Sarah Robertson. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, Kevin. Great to be back with you.
Good.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Good to have you on board. But I think an increasing number of people, I will be avoiding the television this Christmas because, you know, as I say, I stopped being a TV critic in 2016. And the programmes that are on this Christmas are the same as when I was there. So we've still got EastEnders, of course, Call the Bloody Midwife, Christmas special, Mrs. Brown's Boy, Christmas special. Same old, every single year. The only thing that's missing here, they used to have Doctor Who as well, but that's not in there. Is this an indication of the fact that not many people bother to tune into Christmas telly anymore, so the BBC and ITV don't really bother? Or is it the fact that the BBC and ITV are just rubbish and they've got no idea what to serve us up to watch on Christmas Day? Strictly Come Dancing Christmas special, of course, I forgot that. That's every year, forever. I mean, what's going on here, Sarah?
I think you're being a bit bar humbug here, Kevin. It's not all doom and gloom. There are some good offerings coming out of the BBC.
Name one. Name one.
Well, Amanda Land Christmas special. I know you don't like it, but I love it, and it is a hit with viewers, and it promises to be very funny because Joanna Lumley has managed to talk her old sparring partner from Absolutely Fabulous.
Oh yeah, I did read that. That's Jennifer Foster. What's her name? Jennifer Saunders. Yeah, she's going on it. Yeah.
So she's coming back on. Yeah, so that is going to be absolutely fantastic. It will be
absolutely fabulous, I think, is what you're...
Fabulous, indeed, yeah. It's basically going to be their show, you know, even though the titular character, Amanda, everyone's just going to be watching to see if it's going to be like a Patsy and Adina reprisal, which I think from the sounds of things, it is going to be like that. So get a glass of champagne, sit down, a glass of bolly, and enjoy that. The soaps are going to be going head to head. There's big storylines coming out of EastEnders. They always pull it out for the Christmas Day special.
Yeah, well, they're always
storyline, which is a bit doom and gloom. Pam St Clements also coming back from the dead, so we're going to see them reprise their role. And then over on ITV, Gail Platt is coming back in a video cameo. Wow. So I know, and that, you know, for the older viewers, because it's funny, my mum said the other day, she goes, I miss all the older people in Coronation Street. She wants to see older people. She doesn't want to see all these young characters that they keep making all these silly, politically woke storylines around. So I think this will please the older viewers of soaps that maybe soaps have lost. So we'll see what happens with them. But it's going to be interesting because Corrie and EastEnders are going up head to head. Corrie starts 7:15, EastEnders then comes on later, half an hour in. So are people going to be switching off on Corrie onto EastEnders? So that'll be a ratings war with what happens there. I know you hate the repeats, but
everybody hates the repeats.
But not the repeats. Sorry, Kevin. Call the Midwife you mentioned.
Yeah. Well, it's not never was my kind of thing. But Call the Midwife Christmas special. I mean, that's been going on since about 1903, hasn't it?
Well, judging by the state of them all in there. I always get to go and see it every year in a head. This was quite nice. It's actually quite funny this year. There's a Christmas parade. We see the relationship panning out between Trixie and Matthew. There's lots of costumes, lots of laugh, and then that sort of smattering of emotion that it does. But you know what? You know why the BBC invests so much into it, Kevin? It does well. Viewers absolutely love it.
But aren't they axing it this year? Isn't it over? Haven't they axed the whole thing?
Well, yes, but it has been such a
viewers
popular
don't love it that
part
much.
of the BBC viewing.
They don't love it that much. If the BBC's axing it, the viewers have probably had enough, right?
Okay,
I mean, you can only call the midwife so many times, can't you? The midwife's about to hang up, right?
Well, it's because we're moving into different times. You've got to think they go through the decades. So we're coming into a time where really you didn't have your midwives going out. I mean, look at the state of the NHS now, so it's not going to work, is it? No one would be able to get hold of a midwife nowadays, would they?
That's true, that's true. What about that transphobic comedy, Mrs. Brown's Boys, Christmas special? That usually is the ratings winner of the day, isn't it? So that's coming back.
What's so interesting about this, Kevin, is that everyone I speak to slags off Mrs. Brown's Boys and goes, how's that? I'm not going to swear, but how does that get commissioned every year? How does that get made? I don't understand who watches it, but it gets massive figures, and that's why the BBC keeps it going.
Yeah, I know.
It's the ratings winner, and the guy who makes it, his name's gone out.
Brendan O'Carroll, is it? Brendan
O'Carroll, that's it, yeah. I've met him before. A golf tournament once. He's actually very, very
yeah, and
guy.
I've met Brendan. Really nice guy. Nice guy, yeah.
Lovely. This is no offence to Brendan, because Brendan will laugh at this himself. You know, he's absolutely fantastic, and he obviously serves what the viewers want. He knows his audience, and he gives his audience what they want to see. So that will probably be one of the big draws on Christmas when that comes out. I think a lot of people come out the pub and, you know, have a few drinks and then sit down and find themselves laughing along. Whereas maybe if they're sober they wouldn't. I don't know. But anyway, that's back. If you are a fan of old stuff, All Creatures Great and Small, their Christmas specials coming on Channel 5. So that
I
might
quite
be
like that programme. I quite like All Creatures Great and Small.
Wow, Kevin! Is this like you actually like something on TV?
Yeah. My wife makes me watch it. She's obsessed with it. So, but it's a very likeable show. It's a well done traditional drama, and it being a traditional popular drama, that's of course why the BBC let it go to Channel 5. Yeah, because the BBC doesn't like traditional dramas, does it? What about Sarah, the fact that ITV long ago kind of gave up the ghost on Christmas Day, because the BBC always won the war, the ratings war, and they don't really try all that much anymore, do they, basically?
Yeah. No, you're right, actually. ITV has sort of lost its way, because normally you would have like your big blockbuster films. I think they're going with like an old classic. I think it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, which, I mean, people do love, but again, how many times have we all seen it?
Yeah. You know? There's the Bullseye Christmas special with Freddie Flintoff, Romesh Ranganathan, Parents' Evening Christmas special. It's all pretty unambitious, but I was still covering the showbiz beat.
Who Wants to Be a Yeah, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? They'll be on, and then obviously Corrie, but they haven't. You know, ITV. I remember when I was growing up, it was the ITV films. That was what you watched. You know, the big films.
Yeah.
And I suppose everything's just changed now with that. So it's a very poor offering from ITV. Actually, Channel 4's got more going for it.
They got the great Christmas Bake Off. Weirdly, they've got some kind of Peep Show special with Olivia Colman, David Mitchell, Matt King and Sophie Winkleman. These are all stars of that really good sitcom. I did like the Peep Show. Now they're all going to be on the Great Christmas Bake Off. The Bake Off has lost its shine, hasn't it?
It has a bit. I think what happens, Kevin, and I mean, obviously you've been a TV critic for many years as well, is once viewers start to get to know the format, There's only so many years it can go before it starts to feel a bit lackluster.
Stale,
and people start saying it's the same old, it's the same sort of old, formulaic characters that come out with the same patter. I mean, it's like anything. How many times can someone sing a song this way that's slightly different to
good point.
the previous brilliant outputs? I mean, no one's ever going to be singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow better than the great Judy Garland, because she was the best singer, modern day singer that we've ever seen. So no one's ever going to be able to cap that, and it's the same with, when you're baking a cake. Well, how many times can you make a funny quote about a sponge, or I don't know.
Soggy bottoms.
Yes, exactly. There is a fondness for these shows, but I think they do get to a point where it starts to become, it's that again.
Yeah, the cakes have gone stale on the Bake Off, haven't they? Yeah.
Bake Off sort of slightly coming to the end of its thing. But then saying that, I didn't realise this. Bake Off, until I was over in Texas earlier this month, Bake Off has an absolute massive following in America. They love it. And American women are obsessed with Paul Hollywood. He is this heartthrob to American women. So when I was over talking to different PRs in Texas, they were all said, have you interviewed Paul Hollywood before? Have you met him? What's he like? Is his eyes as twinkly blue as what they look like on screen? What is this?
Yeah, so, well, lucky old Paul, eh?
Yeah.
International fame. Listen, Sarah, thank you for that roundup of the Christmas TV offerings this festive period, and very happy Christmas to you, and enjoy your telly. Cheers now. Take care. Bye-bye. That's entertainment presenter Sarah Robinson on what's sort of available on telly. Not up to much, is it really? Watch Talk or do what I do. I think, the on-off switch in my house, it's going to remain off. I can't believe it. When I was a kid, we used to get up in the morning and watch telly from 8 a.m. until like 2 the following morning, all the way through. I used to love it. Now I can't believe that I do not switch on the telly on Christmas Day. Whatever happened to Morecambe and Wise, eh? Do you remember that? I used to get 29 million people used to watch Morecambe and Wise on Christmas Day. It used to be a family tradition. Gather around the telly. It's gone. It's gone because TV, traditional television, terrestrial television, is slowly dying before our very eyes. Got to change soon. Got to change. Scheduled TV. It's yesterday's news, isn't it? It's now cherry-picked streaming services, YouTube, ITV, BBC, Channel 4. Good luck with that. Next up, we're going to take some calls. I'll read some messages. Alex Phillips will be in 10 minutes or so to let you know what she's got lined up for your delectation from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m, the mid-morning show. So all of that still to come, so stick around.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Some WhatsApp voice notes. Here's Pete the Mole on the farmers' U-turn by the government.
Another great show as usual. This reversing on the farmers thing, it's all just another trick from Labour and from Starmer. Yeah, he's upped it 2 million. How much does he think, right, a whole farm is worth? You've got ordinary houses in the streets in London that are worth over £1 million to nearly 2 million now. Some of these farms are worth £8 and £9 million because they've got land in them as well, land that we have to grow our food on, you know, and stuff like that. It's just another con, upping it by $1 million. It still doesn't stop the fact that they only want state-owned farms in this country. The big cooperatives like they have in Marxist Russia and places, you know, the horrible places that nobody really has a life. It's just a trick, another lie from Starmer anyway.
Yeah, state-owned farms. Yeah, exactly right. That they will then cover in solar panels. Here is this is Travelling Boz. I played that Muslim Christmas video, a call to Muslims not to be sucked into celebrating Christmas. Here's what Travelling Boz had to say.
Morning, Kev. Breakfast team. Travelling Boz here. Yeah, that video. I don't know how much money that. I mean, the sound effects and the special effects is fantastic. The two of them in red pyjamas celebrating, that was nice. That's a bit of integration. And then comes the Grinch, who comes along and already warns them that you shouldn't be celebrating this because it's against certain things. Wow, what a dampener. Obviously, it's put out there to antagonise a lot of people. Anyway, who cares? Merry Christmas. Let's celebrate it because it's a Christian country.
Yeah, who cares? Travelling Boz there. This is Jacob. He's worried about the migrant crisis.
Hi, this is Jacob. I'd like to talk about the migrants. I'm from Michigan. What's happening is you guys are being taken over by the migrants, and what's going to happen is Starmer is going to go ahead and legalize them just before he gets out so he can win some of those Democratic seats and then be put back into power.
Interesting point by Jacob over there in the States. Well, let's go through, let's play them all, shall we? This is Matt on his predictions for 2026.
Morning, Kevin. Matty Warrington. Merry Christmas to all at Talk. I think 2026 is going to be political upheaval. I think by the time we get to the May elections, the Labour Party will be dog order. They'll be fighting amongst themselves like a bunch of rats in a sack trying to get Starmer out and who they'll put in place. They'll be putting all kinds of policies in, it's just taxes more. We'll have another 100,000 immigrants that have crossed over the ferry over in their ferries over the channel. Roll on, let's see what happens. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, Matt. By the way, while I remember, Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to me since Monday on this breakfast show. I'll be back on Sunday, the coming Sunday, to do another breakfast show, and then back on January the 5th when we return to our normal schedules. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in all year to my show and everybody's shows, and the compliments of the season to all of you fantastic people out there. Let's play a very last WhatsApp voice note. This is from Andy.
Morning, Kev. It's Andy from Birmingham. I suppose at least when Starmer and Rees get kicked out of that shabby government, the farmers could probably take them on as some hands, because boy, do they know how to make a U-turn. Yeah. Happy Christmas, mate.
Somebody's written this down to say they could get a farm hand job. There you go, farm hand job. Sorry, I mispronounced that. Let's go to the phones and talk to two people who deserve to get on at this time of the year because they're our best callers. The first is, of course, the astonishing Georgina in London. Happy Christmas to you, Georgina.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your king. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. I can't sing, Kevin.
Brilliant. No, well, that's pretty good, Georgina. Thank you very much. Looking back on this year, your thoughts?
My thoughts on this year, well, it can only get better, Kevin. That's all I can say. But thank God for talkTV, because when things are getting a little bit too much to handle, we can always ring and have a good rant.
Yep.
So there we go, you know. I mean, it's just been, for me, the most wonderful outlet to be able to call you. You're like an extended family. It's absolutely amazing.
Right.
And there's no other channel at all where you can ring and give your opinion, you know. So it's an amazing outlet, and especially for people like myself who you know, I don't get a lot of visitors, so to be able to ring you up and have a good old conversation and get it all off my chest, Kevin, I can't tell you how fantastic you all are. Thank you so much.
Well, Georgina, thank you. You are by far and away our best caller. Well, you're just ahead of Herbie, let's be fair. I'm going to talk to him in a minute. And thank you for all your amazing contributions, your incredible phone calls. Keep them coming, and a very, very happy Christmas to you and yours. The amazing Georgina there. Quickly, let's speak to our other great caller at this special time of year, Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie. Happy Christmas, mate.
Good morning, Kevin. Can I wish you and all your crew at Talk Radio, talkTV a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and let's look forward to a miserable 2026.
Exactly right. I'd like to say, it's going to be an amazing new year, but given what we've experienced last year, I mean, I hate to say this, but things can only get worse.
Yeah, right there, Kevin. It's starting already by the looks of it. You know, we've got a lovely lot to look forward to. I wonder what's next on the agenda, what he's going to do, then do a U-turn and things like that. You know, the country's completely in crisis. It's going to collapse anyway. It's just going to crumble under the weight of wokeness.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a more optimistic outlook to project, but we can't, in all honesty. That said, Herbie, thank you very much for all your brilliant phone calls and all your contributions. Very happy Christmas to you and yours. We'll talk next year on the other side. Herbie in Harrow, and she's in the studio. It's Happy Christmas, Alex.
All right.
All right.
Don't make me laugh. Hello.
Oh my God, you don't
Dean
sound...
just said to me, you look like you're going to die. I'm like, thanks, Dean.
You sound like you're going to die.
I think I might. I think I've got a fever as well. Yeah. I thought you were on the phone to Father Christmas just then, because I could see you speaking to someone, and on the screen there was a picture of Father Christmas, and I'm like, what's going on?
I thought I was too, but then again...
It's going to be an entertaining show.
What have you got coming up, Alex?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of doom and gloom by the looks of things. Yeah. We kick off with a story about a farmer who commits suicide, which is awful.
Well, I've spoken to Jonathan Charlesworth. I've interviewed him 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
This guy, if you want to know where Keir Starmer's and Rachel Reeves's cruel policies lead, listen to Jonathan Charles' story. You know those times when you're interviewing someone and they say something that takes your breath away and you hardly know how to respond? This guy telling me the first time I interviewed him about 6 months ago, I walked into the early start, I walked into my father's room and there he was, dead. He took his own life to save his family from the inheritance tax. He's not the only one.
No,
unbelievable.
It's shocking. Well, thank goodness there's been some form of U-turn, but blood on their hands nonetheless.
Yeah.
And thank goodness our brilliant intelligence services and the police managed to intercept terrorists who plotted to kill as many Jews as possible in what could have been the worst terror attack in British history.
When you tolerate...
Merry Christmas!
That's what happens when you tolerate anti-Semitism, like maybe the Avon police prosecuting Bob Villan.
Guess what? They're all migrants as well. This is what happens when you just import people from terrorist countries.
Yeah.
And, you know, they just claim to be something, and not all of them are going to be what they say they are, obviously.
But Bob Villan, Pascal Robinson Foster will not be prosecuted for saying death to the IDF at Glastonbury.